having some problems. Don't know what it is really. It's probably air conditioning is the root problem. But we haven't been using the air conditioning. I don't know what's going on. I'm losing my voice. Started yesterday. You heard it yesterday. I even called it out. I said, what? Hold on. Not a cold or anything like that. I'm totally fine. I just, I'm going to be sexy guy today. I'm going to have sexy guy voice. Yeah, instead of like, screeching banshee. What is that? Is that a woman, an effeminate man, or some medieval song siren? So anyway, sexy voice today. Welcome in, guys. Pugs Moran. This is the Kelly Moore Memorial Studio on the beautiful south side of Chicago on RadioMisfits.com. RadioMisfits.com. Give yourself, that's for you. That applause. It's all for you. Friday. Does it feel like Friday? Let me tell you something. Friday for me was supposed to have started yesterday, but because of weather that was in the area, we had to delay our plans. And that's okay. That's okay. And now we've got weather still in the area, so the plans are up in the air even as of today. I didn't think we were going to do a show today. As 3 days ago, I would have said, I don't think I'm doing a show Friday. But here I am. Because of weather. What else? Is there anything else? Just trying to think. Small talk. I like to do small talk at the beginning before we get into the podium presentations. That is the first 3 people in the chat room. We run a chat room around here and have been for 5 straight years. It is it's a fun place. You can read everything because it stays static. It's not busy. I'm trying to tell you. It's not busy. It's not one of those things where it's just a whole bunch of idiots and no, we've got a nice little tight-knit group. We got about, 20 people, maybe, consistently. Everybody knows each other. We're always looking to grow. So come enjoy the chicken coop, as we call it. Claim your spot. Claim your little piece of what do they keep chickens in? I just realized I don't know what the modern chicken farming situation is. It's probably good. Although I take a job anywhere. Is there job growth in modern chicken farming? Remember when that was a thing a couple of years ago when a bunch of like not hillbillies, excuse me, just the opposite. Like Brooklyn hipsters started to introduce like chickens to like city neighborhoods. That was the thing around here anywhere. I don't know. Same coincided with the beard growing and, Mumford and Son and all that. I missed that. I think I was already too old for the hipster movement. Thank God. I was done with movements by the time that came through. Anyway, apparently that the chicken game didn't make them all millionaires. So whatever, maybe. Why are we talking about chickens? Because you're in my coop and we're rewarding the podium. Let's do that. First person in. Hold on. I'm about to announce it. I'm like, okay, first person in. And I'm like, well, maybe I should check it out. Maybe I should actually see. It's Peter. Thank you, Peter. Peter is the first person in. Looks like Byron is number 2. And then Jen coming in third. Taronda's right there. Of course she is. Who else do we have here in the early goings of the show? Oh, I'm looking at the clock and it's 12:08. Usually I'm not even started yet. So we got, Mama B is here. Hi, Mama B. We've got April. Hi, Apes. I feel good. I mean, don't let the bad pipes think that, you're not going to get a full-throated show. What else we got? I'm just trying to think of what, off the top of our... We almost had an accident last night on the Pope balcony. Oh, God, you guys. We almost had such an accident. So we sit out there. I tell you about the Pope balcony, right? We sit out there and we overlook everything and we're comically higher than everything else in the neighborhood. And it's kind of awesome. And there's these 2 plastic, outdoor chairs that are out there. And we sit in those and we talk and we watch planes and we play the game I told you about, clear the board and all that stuff. Oh my God, you guys. First of all, I grew up in Chicago, right? If you grew up in Chicago in the 1970s and 1980s and maybe into the 90s as well, you may remember that it seemed like every end of the college year or beginning of the college year, it seemed with clockwork, there would always be a college party in one of the Chicago neighborhoods that would get out of hand and a deck would collapse and everybody died. Everybody. So I grew up as I grew and aged and began going to these, parties in Chicago neighborhoods that occur on back decks. You've probably seen it. There's an alley in the back of the building, and then there's like a scaffolding of stairs, and each stair has a deck. And anyway, that's the setup. And these apartment buildings, they have parties, and there's a party on every deck, and the decks collapse. At least that's what media told me when I was just a little kid, and I'm like, oh, decks collapse. So I've never been comfortable on decks. And I got to tell you, the Pope balcony, as cool as it is, scares the hell out of me. I have to cram it down. I have to just all right, this is going to be fine. It's not going to collapse. And it's why would it? It's in good shape. The whole house is in great shape. It seems relatively new. There is no rational reason it's past all the inspections. There is no rational reason to think that it would collapse, but I can't get comfortable out there. I just can't. I try to, but I can't. So last night on these plastic outdoor chairs, we're sitting in them talking to my son, and the back leg of the plastic chair collapses. He's like 200. Remember, he's a pretty big dude. He's 6 foot tall. He's about 235. The back chair collapses and he falls, just his butt, boom, on the balcony. And then he starts to roll and he puts all of his weight on the banister, right? And I'm thinking in my head, I'm 3 steps ahead. The banister has collapsed. He's tumbling over. He's dead. I don't know what. Do I jump after him? Oh my God, you guys. None of that happened, of course. He just fell, righted himself, and then cleaned up. There was no mess really, but it was fine. It was all fine. But in my head, I couldn't, he went right back to being normal. He just sat there. He sat Indian style and he was on his phone and we're clocking playing. Just went right back to being normal. Probably a little embarrassed, but the last thing I was doing was going, no, because I was running through any number of parent tragedies in my head. I'm like, okay, could he have survived that? I mean, it really depends on how he fell, right? We're talking about a broken bone. Look, ER, we're going to the ER tonight. For sure. Question is, do we need an ambulance? Is this going to require an ambulance? Oh, God, please don't require an ambulance. Right? That's what's going through my head. I'm freaking out. So, because I didn't want to look like a complete woman, I had to stifle all this down in front of my young son. All of this was raging inside of me. And so I just did what I always do. I pretended I had to go to the bathroom and I went inside and watched TV. Never came back. Never came back. Guys, do you do that, or is that just me? Is that just me being crazy? Do you, when something happens, like when you survive something, and then you think, well, that could have been bad, most people just move on from that, right? They start to just enjoy whatever happens next. Oh, we're having fun. We were on a ride at a carnival, and a giant bolt fell out of our particular seat. At the apex of the ride. Wow, that could have been bad. I mean, we were fine. It could have been bad. Most people just move on from that. They're like, oh, that could have been bad. Hey, what's over here? I couldn't sleep at all last night. I'm just laying there going, all right, really dodged a bullet on that one. Apparently it's a well-constructed balcony. I mean, totally well-constructed. When he fell and righted himself by putting all of his weight on the railing of the balcony. It's not like it even budged. I mean, I didn't even hear wood go, and he's like a big dude. So, there is no rational reason for this fear, but oh my God. Anyway, hope you guys had a nice night. I did not sleep well because of that. And he probably hasn't even thought about it. Like, not even once. Hasn't even thought about it. Like I said, if anything, he's a teenager who might be embarrassed because he fell off his chair. Me, as his father, I can't get past what could have happened. And by the way, I learned how to deal with this in therapy. It's about the mentality of not being willing to spoil the next moment because of something that you're afraid might happen, right? So it's like don't don't ruin this moment worrying about the next. That's how you got to train yourself. Yeah, I failed last night. I failed so miserably. It was almost like emotional and psychological porn for me. I was fixated on it. I even got up at one point and looked out the window and went, okay, there's a lot of grass there. And that's a nice lawn. He might have been all right. It's not like he fell onto pavement. He would have fallen onto the bushes might have broken his fall to some extent. Anyway, I couldn't get past it. And I hope you people are just better than me. Who else do we have in the chat room here? Everybody, I need everybody to say hi because the voice is not great. You know what I'll do? Here's what we'll do. We will thank our July heroes. Thank you to everybody who has helped the show out this July. We need your help. We need your help now. It is Pledge Week, as we used to call it. We are dying here for the month of July, and we added nobody yesterday. We only added like 2 people this week. So if you support this kind of talk radio, which is different, I believe, than anything that you'll find elsewhere, at least on a daily sort of basis. Maybe there's podcasts with narcissists like me who just purge themselves while pretending to flip through the news of the day. Maybe, but not on radio. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give you an alternative to that, Rush Limbaugh bullshit. So if you want to be added to our wall of heroes, a wall that will stay up all month long. Not only that, there's a scroll. I forgot to do the scroll. Here you go. The scroll will appear all month long. Please drop a little something if you can, either the Cash App or the Venmo. The Cash App or the Venmo. That's the best way to do it. Help this show continue. And like I said, at this stage, this is much appreciated. All right, let's keep going. What do we want to talk about today? Excuse me. Seriously, this is bugging me. All right, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different topics. There's a plot last night that everybody was running with. I don't know if you watched any of the cable news. Apparently, there's a big old plot to assassinate President Trump. This, at least as far as the Israelis are concerned. I wonder what they could be motivated by. What? All right, so we'll get into that. We'll talk about the timeline and what we know about the alleged plot against President Trump by the Iranians. Which, look, the question for me isn't, do you believe there's a plot? I think there's probably an ongoing plot. Like, I think that there's probably a million fatwas on Trump specifically, and just generally speaking, anybody who was president of the United States. But is there any specific relevance to this plot in the wake of, what was presented as a peace deal and then fell apart? And now we've got hostilities again. And now we're back to them being, you killed the Ayatollah, right? So eye for an eye. Is that part of their religion? I'm not sure, but we'll talk about that. We'll get into the details, the etymology, if you will, of what this threat is against President Trump. Also, one more thing, and we don't do a lot of politics here, but what is it? Trump is not going to sign this housing bill. This was a big story a couple of weeks ago. Trump at the time tied it to the Save America Act. He's like, I'm not going to sign this. The housing bill was presented to us at the time as, this is Trump throwing a tantrum because he's not getting what he wants, when here we sit with this bill that is a beautiful bipartisan bill that will benefit all of Americans and blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit. It is a bipartisan bill, but we'll get into it exactly and what this bill is about and how this so-called housing bill doesn't help us at all. Who it helps? Well, we'll get into who it helps, and you won't be surprised to find out. We're also going to investigate but the Plattner story won't go away. People are still talking about the Plattner story. And I've detailed here over the last couple of days as we talked about Graham Plattner, the former Democratic nominee for Senate there in Maine. He was going to challenge Susan Collins. We talked about the Nazi tattoo, and we've talked about all this. We had talked about the Reddit posts because now they're surfacing again. He apparently used to go, he was an internet troll. I mean, I don't know how you're going to find, honestly, how are you ever going to find a candidate in the future who is currently under 50 who doesn't have regrettable posts. You're just not. That's, back to a purity test kind of lens, which I don't think anybody thinks is a great idea. Anyway, I want to talk about some of the most troubling of Graham Plantner's posts. Maybe we'll do that with Maddie, because we're going to have Maddie on. Maddie's going to join us. Dick of the Day. Oh my God, you guys, new segment. We've been doing it all week. Dick of the Day. This is just a person who distinguishes themselves as, oh God, just what a dick, right? Doesn't have to be a major crime. And it'll never be, I promise you, it'll never be a president or anything like that. It's too easy. This Dick of the Day is reserved for people who walk among us, people that we got to deal with in traffic, that kind of thing. So today, our Dick of the Day, dick move. This guy perpetrates the ultimate dick move, and we'll focus on that when we get to that part of today's show. The ultimate dick move is in the spotlight. Today's Dick of the Day. Also, I wanted to start doing more Rampage coverage. Rampage coverage is a type. Well, I think I just made it up. Actually, I don't know if it's called that, but I want to do news stories that go unnoticed, because the news that we're force fed is mostly just intended to divide us, which is the politics and right, and Trump said this and Biden is this, and that shit. That's most of the news that is presented to us front and center. But I've always been a great advocate for the absolutely insane stories that are happening that nobody's talking about. So we're going to start focusing on that kind of stuff, right? Chaos crime, if you will, rampage coverage. A lot of people going on rampages, man. They don't interrupt Dancing with the Stars to give you coverage of it, but maybe I'm going to start. And we're going to spread it out. We're going to be very ecumenical about this, at least insofar as our opening segment, because we're going to cover three people, okay? Three different people from three different states, individual states. We're going to track this over time. At least I am. We're going to figure out which state is presenting us with the most mayhem. Today, we're going to focus on a Utah mom, a Maryland woman, and a Kentucky couple, okay? There you go. We're going to start doing some rampage and chaos coverage. And then we also got 3 videos, an all-female edition of 3 videos. It wasn't intended to be that way. It just, as I put it together, I went, oh, another chick. Okay. All-female edition of 3 videos. And, of course, we'll end everything with Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. There's a bunch of other stuff in here as well that I may cover should I choose to, but that's pretty much it. Oh, also, we're going to talk about Netflix. Netflix is going to ruin everything. It's just ruining everything. Netflix, look, whatever issues you may have with Netflix, and we all like to, shoot our arrows up at the things in utilities. There was never a time in America when people were okay with their utility companies, right? 1950, they hated the phone company. So like Netflix is now like a new utility to a lot of us. It's a channel that we get. We all pay for it, so we feel a little bit more ownership, and maybe people criticize it, but I think Netflix and HBO Max, in the world of, all of these platforms that we're forced to choose from, Netflix and HBO Max, I think, are my 2 favorite. And the reason is that they seem to be the cleanest. Netflix is by far the cleanest. Everything that you are shown on Netflix is available to you now, unless they're hyping something that's coming, right? That's not the same for sites like Prime Video, which I go to Prime Video, and I would say a good 90% of the stuff that they're trying to, hey, you might be interested in this. And then you click on it, and it's like, you must have a subscription for it. And I know that there's a way that you can just get the Prime offerings and all that, but still, it's cluttered, and it's just so grotesquely commercial. Just everything about American capitalism that turns my stomach. It's the, hey, I know you're already paying a subscription and you're here and you're getting a bunch of free stuff, but you want to buy this? How about this? Look, you pay us monthly. Okay, so we've tracked the shit you like, and here's the shit you like, and we want to upsell you on it. That fucking attitude is grotesque. Netflix never really had that. Netflix was always a very open deal. You pay your monthly subscription, and what you get on Netflix is what's available to you. No upsells, no bullshit, no nothing. Hulu is terrible like that. But as I say, Netflix and HBO Max to me appear to be the cleanest. And HBO Max, I know that HBO Max is now a bit cluttered with a lot of their partners, their partner platforms with their CNN offerings and all that stuff. But at least it's all free if you have HBO Max. There is no, hey, you want to buy a movie on Google? There's none of that. So HBO Max and Netflix, to me, I think are the two cleanest. Netflix is about to change all that, man, and we'll talk about that, okay? As you can see, now that's a story that I'm very passionate about. Let's jump back into the chat room and see if there's anything new happening that needs to be addressed. Not a lot of action here in the chat room. All right. Maddie's there. She's over watching on Twitch. She says, we're here. The lefty Twitchers are holding it down on this side of the fence. All right. Maybe we can get like Barney to host something on Rumble. So we'll, I love the efforts of Maddie. Thank you so much. I need a drink. Okay. Oh, you may have known. I've been out of uniform, right? I didn't do laundry. I didn't know we're out of detergent. Yeah, wow, you think we're detergent rich? You think we can just run out and get them? No, we gotta wait. We gotta wait to see if we can get detergent. Anyway, that's why I'm out of uniform. I spilled some spaghetti sauce on my my black shirt yesterday. The black shirt that I usually wear. Actually, I did it 2 days ago, and that's why yesterday I think I was just wearing a black tee. Doesn't matter. I'm not a fashion icon. It's not like it's important. What is important, though, is the hat that I'm not wearing. That's right. I'm not wearing my White Sox hat. I will wear my black White Sox hat only when my White Sox are in first place. And I will revert to the nondescript black hat when my White Sox fall out of first place. Now, look. I know they're tied for first place. We're tied for first place, but that is not first place. And as a White Sox fan, I am proud to say that this season we've moved the goalpost. We're better than tied for first place. We don't celebrate until we are in first place. So today we get Mooney back. That's our big Chinaman. Oh, what did he say? Okay. It's not even Chinese. He's Japanese. Our Japanese slugger, Munetaka Murakami, who has just, oh my God, we love him so much. He is such a cool guy. Heck, cool guy. He's been hurt, and he's coming back today for a Friday night. Friday night on the South Side, going to be a good time. So we're excited. Maybe on Monday, after a great series, we'll be wearing the White Sox hat again, but for now, no. Right now, we're not. April, she's got something to say in the chat room. She says, to the left, everyone. That's awesome. To the left. Okay. All right. Look at him. They're excited. All right. Adam's here now. I'm not even going to read it first. I'm putting him up. He said, shit, my bad. Missed the start. Was listening to some kick-ass Dallas bands. I'll be seeing on Wednesday. Who? All right. What was I saying? Was there anything? There was something I was saying. Oh, yeah, about the Chinese-Japanese thing. The reason that I called Munetaka Murakami a Chinaman is because I was thinking about the who's the chick down there in Marsha Blackburn. That's her. Where is she? Where Tennessee or Kentucky? She Tennessee? I'm not sure. Is she Kentucky? Is she the other senator with Mitch McConnell? The late possible. The possibly late Mitch McConnell. Anyway, she did a campaign video where she apparently she was the point of her campaign video was that we're not going to sell Kentucky, Tennessee land to the Chinese. And she was eating a big bowl of fortune cookies. She's cracking open fortune cookies and she's eating them. And, get it? That's just the prop because she's not going to let the Chinese is. So apparently she's being criticized. And by the way, this is why the left loses. This is exactly why the left loses. She's being like what they found most offensive about that campaign video that she put out was that she was talking about China while eating fortune cookies. And apparently everybody knows that fortune cookies are not Chinese. Now, I consider myself a bit of a man of the world. I've been places, never been to China. But I've been to Chinese restaurants, and I'll tell you, every Chinese restaurant I've been to gives me fortune cookies. That's a thing that you get at Chinese restaurants. So I don't know. Is this one of those, what's it called? Streisand syndrome? What's it called? Where you imagine, no, they're Chinese. No, they're not. They're not. Apparently they're Japanese. Apparently fortune cookies began in a Japanese restaurant in San Francisco. They're not even culturally or ancestrally Japanese. They're just something that was created as a delicious treat for Americans, where, to get them to try Japanese food. Then apparently the 1950s came and Japanese restaurants were no longer in favor because of the war against Japan. But people liked what they thought was all the same food. So the rise of Chinese restaurants came into effect. Now, I don't know if they'd gone full-blown communist at the time, but Americans were more willing to sit down and eat with their family at a Chinese restaurant than they were a Japanese restaurant. And apparently the fortune cookie crossed over at that point. Because people, your grandpa, your great-grandpa, whatever, in the 1950s, didn't know the difference between China and Japan. They was all them people with the same haircuts. Chinamans. My grandpa called them all Chinamans. I had a friend growing up, Leo. He was he moved into the neighborhood there on the south side of Chicago, and his family. They were he lived actually down the block. My grandpa called him a Chinaman. He's like, "Hey, Wood, how's your Chinaman friend?" Like, not in a mean way, just that was his most distinguishing characteristic that he could think of to, nominate him for the conversation. There was a lot of kids running around, but there was only one Chinaman. I always thought that was funny because he was Filipino. He wasn't Chinese. Anyway, Marsha Blackburn got hammered because she ate Chinese, or she was doing a anti-China rant while eating fortune cookies, which apparently are Japanese. And they hammered her for it. And I just want to say, I don't think anybody knew that. I think she's fine. I don't think this is an example of how stupid she is, because if it is, it's an example of how stupid we all are. Because I maintain we all assume Chinese and fortune cookies were a thing. All right. What else do we have here? Adam's going to talk about some bands now for a second. It's Friday. Why not? Adam says Darstar is a power pop band you may enjoy, and Blue Babe is an indie rock band. Both female lead bands opening for Be Your Own Pet, who has a kick-ass female lead singer. They're on Jack White's label. He's pro-fem rock. I've never heard that before. Is that a term? It might be. And if it is a term, anyone that would use it is probably an asshole. We used to just call them bands with chicks. That's the band's got a lot of chicks in it. They're great. And I never had a problem with it. I was an early adopter of Go-Go's and Bangles. You know any early Bangles stuff? I do. Liverpool. That stuff's great. The Runaways. Are you kidding me? Cherry Bomb? I never had a problem with chick lead singers. Stevie Nicks? Oh my God. I loved her. Anyway. All right. So Adam's going to a band. I see bands with a whole bunch of chick-themed singers. And that's, that sizes up perfectly with today's 3 vids. Because it's all chicks. Chick-themed 3 vids. All right. Thank you, Adam, for sharing that. Now let's get into the stuff that maybe I do, maybe I don't actually want to talk about. We'll find out about 5 minutes into it, right? It's usually what happens. All right, let's talk about the plot against the president that was revealed last night. Iran apparently has a plot against President Trump. And it's a new one, right? Because I'm like, when I heard this, I'm like, yeah, so what? Like, I mean, isn't that like an ongoing thing? Isn't that always been the case? Haven't we been to a number of different wars because of situations like that? Iraq, wasn't that the driving force behind Iraq that they wanted to kill in a different? Anyway, I just thought, but no, something new. And it comes to us from Israeli intelligence, which, context being everything. How do you feel about Israeli intelligence these days? I think that they're controlled by Netanyahu, and I think that Netanyahu is very, very desperate. And why is he desperate? He's desperate because public opinion in this country has sort of swayed to the side of Netanyahu. Seems like a real fuckstick. Netanyahu is underwater popularity-wise in this country, not only among rank-and-file, Republicans, but American Jews. Did you see that poll that came out a couple of days ago? Among American Jews, Mandami in New York has a higher favorability than Netanyahu. Woo! So Trump, he plays the polls. He's usually a little bit late to it. Like the time that he did the best thing he ever did by Operation Warp Speed, where he actually came up with something that addressed and managed the COVID vaccine, and he was all in and he was all proud of it. And then, then the tide turned, and then suddenly everybody was confused. Like, wait a second, does he like his greatest achievement or not? Joe Rogan says that you should just, do an 8-ball of Windex and you'll be fine. So he's always a little bit behind, but he will change. He will change to the overwhelming sentiment. The one thing that he couldn't do was he couldn't change to the overwhelming sentiment about Epstein. So he just made that a non-talking point. That we're just not talking about that anymore. And guess what? The media was cool. The media was like, oh, okay. Like, instead of the media, every press briefing with Carolyn Levitt being one after another, we need more on Epstein. We need more on Epstein. No, instead of that being what the journalists did, the journalists just went, okay, I guess we're not doing that anymore. So that's like the one time that he didn't bow. And guess what? He muscled through that too, because now his supporters don't care about Epstein anymore because it went dark for a long time. It's an old, boring story. And the dopamine, they need new things to get excited about. Anyway, the case of Israel, people are souring on Israel. And it's not just, the far left people, who were the scourge of the earth 2 years ago when they were taking over American universities. 2 years ago when this whole thing started and they were calling it a genocide. 2 years later, now everybody's kind of like, yeah. They'll never admit that those kids might have been onto something back then. But most people, especially a lot of MAGA, are now on that side, the side of Netanyahu is evil, influenced by everybody from Tim Dillon. Well, everybody, Joe Rogan, everybody. The only ones that aren't on that side that used to be major influencers in that sphere, like Ben Shapiro, right, for obvious reasons. And I don't even want to talk about those guys. Anyway, you get the point. So Trump has reacted to the Israeli change of heart among the American people, or at least his people, by distancing himself from Netanyahu. And that's why Netanyahu's desperate. He's like, oh my God, I thought I had this dupe. I thought I totally, because that's what he did. Netanyahu duped President Trump into starting this whole thing by promising things like, oh, don't never talk about Epstein again, Mr. President. You could be the only, for 47 years, we've been trying to get U.S. presidents to do this great and righteous thing. He talked to him like that. And Trump on it. And now we're here. And it's a quagmire. And there's no way to get out with Trump looking like, isn't that great? There's no way to do that. So he's just trying to back out. He's announcing phony peace plans. Maybe the people will think that I won the war if I just say I won the war. I won this war. Yeah, he's doing that. But the reality of the situation is that Netanyahu is now feeling further and further marginalized from his big giant protector, the United States. So when I say I don't necessarily trust anything that comes out of Israel, it does have a lot to do with their behavior over the last few years, but it has even more to do with the current climate, that they are being ostracized now. So they need to do something to get the president's attention. So lo and behold, Israeli intelligence has a new, very serious, Mr. President, I know we're not talking right now because look, forget about all that stuff. This is because you're our friend. And this goes above and beyond that. But we have uncovered legitimate and serious information that says that you are a very active target now of the Iranian. I mean, that's how they get their access back, by presenting this stuff. So anyway, here's the story here. Let me see. Wait. Okay. So before we get into the actual details, I want to tell you about Trump's response to it, because Trump's response to it is crazy. Here's what President Trump had to say about the story that came out last. I don't know if it was leaked and then confirmed, but whatever. It seems to be pretty confirmed now. President Donald Trump admitted to the New York Post on Friday that he's left instructions on what to do if Iran follows through on its vow to assassinate him. I've been on their list for a long time. That's what we're dealing with, he told the Post's Caden Doorknob. What's her name? All right. The Post has a, the Post has a writer, the writer of this article, whose name is Caitlin Doorknobs. At least that's how I read it. Her name is Caitlin Dornbos. Dornbos. That's how she spells her last name. You know, people call her Caitlin Doorknobs. Anyway, Trump says, I've been on their list for a long time. That's what we're dealing with, he told the Post's Caitlin Doorknobs. I've left instructions, if anything happens, to just literally bomb them at levels that they've never seen before. Trump said during the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey this week that Iran may be looking to take him out, adding that he's their number one target. They've never seen a target like me before. I'm the most magnificent number one target of all time. The depths of this man's narcissism don't even stop at, people trying to kill him. I'm number one on TikTok, people who are trying to be killed. That's weird. That's weird that he's so weird, man, to say nothing of the fact. Does he? Okay, so let's say this happens, because what he's saying is, I've left a note. Look, let me tell you something. If they take me out, there's a note. And they're going to do exactly what the dead president that preceded them, that was sinking in the polls, that nobody liked. And they're going to do exactly what I said in that note. Yeah, right. J.D. Vance going to get right on it. He's going to be like, oh, please. That dude will distance themselves from you as quickly as they can. They are desperate to get out of this. Ugh. The big question for them is, will they be reaccepted by mainstream voters? That's what they need to have happen. Please, Trump's got a note. I believe it says it in the Bible or the Constitution, but 48 hours after a president passes away, he is still president. And anything that he scribbles in a notebook, by law, has to be... Shut up. If you get assassinated, whoever comes into power is going to look at the situation and go, okay, finally, let's see if we can get a handle on this nonsense. First, what do we got? Well, sir, we've got a note. Put it in the trash. Put that fucking... Send it to the Trump Air Library or whatever. Isn't that the library is going to now be the airplane? The airplane that everyone knew was going to be a security risk that now turns out is a security risk. I'm talking about the jet that he took as a present for us from the Qatari guys. It's for us. It's president. It's president. It's us. We got a new plane because he knows how much it means to us that our president looks cool in his airplane. So how is this a present for us? All right. Anyway, so Trump's got a note. Trump's got a note in case Israel is right in the information that they've presented that says that Iran has now made him their number one target. Number one. Taylor Swift is number two. Trump said during the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey this week that Iran may be looking to take him out, adding that he's their number one target. On the way back to the States, the president was forced to switch planes after the Secret Service reportedly voiced concerns about the new Air Force One, a $400 million jet gifted to him from the Qatari government. Now, take a moment on this. The new plane, which from the very beginning, I'm like, I don't know what the current mood of the Qataris are, but if you were to just say for $1 billion, are the Qataris trustworthy? I'd be like, no, not to us. We're Americans. No. If we stopped buying oil, they wouldn't be nice to us at all. So when the Qataris, do this plane and then like, here you go, you should fly in it right away. Right away, Mr. President. Get up there and go crazy. Here's what I would suggest. For the maiden voyage, get everybody in your government together and take them all up at one time. It'll be great. I think of the optics, Mr. President. You'll be number one on Instagram. From the very beginning, I'm like, this is fucking weird. This is, like, I don't know, but if this was a movie, right? If this was a movie, they would have implanted something in the hardwiring system of the airplane before they gifted it to the president, and they can take control of it now. And, they'll be up there flying. The president will be on his way to some G20 summit somewhere in the world. And all of a sudden, the pilots will be like, wait a second, I've lost control of this plane. And then the plane will land on some deserted island somewhere, and a bunch of guerrillas will take the entire plane hostage. Yeah, I know that's probably not what the Secret Service is concerned about, but why not? That's my movie script. Didn't it seem like it's just a bad idea from the beginning? Why are we why is the plan? What? All right, so that happened. On the way back to the States, the president was forced to switch planes after the Secret Service reportedly voiced concerns about the new Air Force One, a $400 million jet gifted to him by the Qatari government. After that, Israel claimed that it had shared intelligence with the president that the Islamic regime was now considering a new plan to assassinate the president. Oh, so the jet's hotwired, right? Now the jet, we're never going to fly the jet again until they completely reverse engineer it. That was the problem from the beginning. The jet's free. Yeah, how much did it cost for that, super forensic reverse engineering of the plane? That took 5 years. Anyway. Israel claimed that it shared new intelligence with the president that the Islamic regime was considering a plan to assassinate him. In his interview with the Post, President Trump denied those claims, saying, here's what he said, no. Israel came up with nothing. No, he said. I've been number one on Iran's kill list for a long time, and it's the way life is, So, is this like if someone were to say, Mr. President, I see that you're now number one on TikTok, and he goes, what? No, I've been number one for a long time. Is that what this is? Because that's weird, man. Come on, Barney. Come on, Byron. I know he's your guy. But this is a strange. Is it true, Mr. President, that Israel has recently shared with you some of their newly uncovered intelligence that says that you're now a number one target of the Iranian regime? No, they came up with nothing. I've been number one for a long time. I don't know what that is. Let's see. He added, I hope you'll all miss me. All right. Whatever. That's, he's the president of the United States. A lot of people are constantly, he's got threats. The guy has survived a very well orchestrated attempt to pierce his ear. So he knows he ain't taking any of this for granted. All right. Let's see, what do we know? The source of this threat, will tell you how this all came to be. The initial source of the specific threat came from Israeli intelligence. It says, according to investigative reports first published by the Wall Street Journal and later confirmed by sources speaking to outlets like CNN, Israeli officials have provided a warning to the United States government regarding a fresh, active plot by Iran to assassinate President Donald Trump. United States officials have noted that while they have tracked generalized Iranian threats for years, this specific warning from Israel concerned a new and distinct plan. Here's what Iran has said. Here's what Trump has said. He said, Trump openly referenced the threat himself while departing the NATO summit in Turkey. Trump told reporters they want to take out the U.S. leader, me. I saw this morning, I'm on every... Oh, God, here he goes. More quotes. Trump on being number one on the hit list. He probably even enjoys being number one on the least liked or least trusted person on the planet list. That's probably something that he would brag about if put into a corner. All right, President Trump said, while departing the NATO summit there in Turkey, he said, here's the quote: "They want to take out the U.S. leader, me. I saw this morning, I'm on every single one of their lists. I'm on everyone. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Al-Qaeda, the Iranian Republican Guard." What are they called? The IRC? Is that what they are? Iran, for their part, the government has officially denied the allegations, calling them baseless. However, Iranian hostility and public rhetoric surrounding Trump remains highly visible. For instance, during recent high-profile public funeral processions in Iran, attendees openly carried massive banners displaying slogans such as "We will kill Trump." All right, not real specific, but, pretty on the nose. Tehran has long maintained a public stance of wanting retaliation against Trump for ordering the 2020 drone strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. All right, so there you have it. The White House seems to be, maybe the White House with Israel, when Israel brought this information, maybe the White House was like, okay, thanks, man. Okay, but appreciate it. And then they took it and they did what they wanted. And then when they wanted to talk publicly about it, they were like, yeah, they told us we're number one all the time. They didn't give us anything that, right? Maybe it was something like that. Or maybe it was truly Israel going, we've got to come up with a way to get their attention. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Anyway, here we are. There seems to be some kind of threat against Trump. Although, again, thought there always was. By the way, you know what? Can I mention something? My son, my 17-year-old son, does a really good Donald Trump impression. Really good. I think it might be based on a Shane Gillis kind of impression, but it's really good. It's good. I mean, look, if he was on stage, I'd be like, okay, that dude needs to work on it. And he needs to work on it, but it's good. It's like, oh my God, okay, you've got the foundation. So when I was just doing the Trump thing, I was kind of doing my son's impression of Trump, which was quite funny. It's quite funny. All right, let's talk about this Housing Act, because this is the other big story here, at least domestically. The Housing Act bill was something that was agreed upon bipartisanly by both Republicans and Democrats, something that they presented and went on all the TV talk shows and said, this is going to be a great thing for the average American home buyer and in the future and blah. Because look, the housing market is fucked. Things are really bad. Okay. So people need relief. When the number one thing that the average American counts as their primary asset, their home, is in this much trouble, somebody's got to do something. Or we just allow for mass home losses. And we just allow the Chinese and Wall Street and the corporate buyers to come in and just purchase entire neighborhoods and then just rent them out. Is that the goal? I think that might be the goal. That might be the goal for the next few years. To now take away from the American middle class the only thing that they consider their great source of wealth, their homes. So this housing bill was sold to us as something that was, so important for especially the first-time buyer, especially Shut up. No, it wasn't. Okay. Now, Trump threw a temper tantrum, as Trump is wont to do. He threw a temper tantrum over the SAVE Act and over a voter restriction that he was trying to get put in. We don't need to get into the weeds on it. But so when it came time for Trump to sign this bipartisan housing bill, which is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, that's what it's called. Hold on. Just want to make sure. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't, because sometimes the cameras go out. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act, right? That's what this bill is. Bipartisan. Trump was all set to do a TV signing, right? They had the table and the flags, and he was going to, here's your pen. He was going to do that whole thing. And then at the last minute, Trump said, I'm not going. I'm not signing it, because he was hung up on something having to do with the Save America Act, right? Now, his refusal to sign that was infantile. It was him. The president was throwing a tantrum and trying to show Congress that do what I want and I won't do. I'll do what you want. That whole thing. Well, whether it worked or not, I don't know. But Trump has announced today that he will refuse to sign that bill. That bill will not get signed. It is bipartisanly passed, and it purports to be a great help to the American people. Now, Trump isn't signing it or not signing it for any of that. Again, Trump is still throwing the tantrum. This is about his Save America Act and the voter registration aspects to it. But the bill is still there. And a lot of people, especially in the wake of today's news, where Trump has formally announced that he will not under any circumstance sign the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, people are responding to it like, again, this is him taking a shot at us, the peasants. I try to be a watchdog for the working class. So I know a lot about this story, right? We didn't talk about it because it's one of them stories that is boring. It's boring. But now we have a conclusion to it. And I just want to set the record straight on what the 21st Century Road to Housing Act actually was. It wasn't for us. It was said to be for us. It was for rich people. It was another thing for rich people. Let's get into it. Okay, let me just explain what's happening here. President Donald Trump will let the bipartisan housing bill approved by Congress become law without his signature, saying Friday that he was refusing to put his name on it because of the little progress made in passing his strict voter ID bill. Tantrum, right? There's the tantrum. But here's the thing that has kind of got me the most upset. He doesn't need to sign it. It's a bipartisan bill. I didn't know that. What, do I need to go back to school now? Apparently, he never needed to sign it. If he didn't sign it by a certain day, it would just become law anyway. So it's going to become a thing, and him not signing it has nothing to do with his feelings about the bill, either good or bad, working class or rich. No, it just has to do with he's throwing a tantrum about not getting something else. But it doesn't matter. It's feckless. It's performative. Because again, as I'm learning today, didn't need a signature. All it had to do is sit there for 2 weeks, and then it becomes law. He says, I will not sign the housing bill, which has been fully approved by Congress and sent to the White House in protest. That's what he's saying. He's not going to sign it in protest. Even though, remember, it's being presented to the American people as something that is good for us. Now, never mind the fact that it's not, and we'll get into that in a second, but it's being presented that way. So, I mean, it seems like an own goal to Trump, right? Trump looks bad on this, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care, and he's even saying, look, I'm doing this in protest because I'm stubborn. Not because I don't care about the American people, which I don't care about the American people, but just to be clear, I'm stubborn is why I'm doing this. Protest. I will not sign the housing bill, which has been fully approved by Congress and sent to the White House in protest over the fact that the United States Senate, something that he controls with his party, is not capable of passing the Save America Act, Trump posted on social media. So here's the thing. He had 10 days, okay? It was today. 10 days is up today. He had 10 days, a 10-day deadline to sign the bill, issue a veto, or just simply allow the measure to take effect without his signature. What? So then it doesn't, what? He didn't veto it. He didn't send it back. He could have done that, but he didn't. He's just not gonna. So look, we're getting this thing. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act is going to be put into effect regardless of whether or not Trump put his little signature on the bottom of it. I guess that's really just so the presidents can take credit for things. Because as we're learning now, it's just 10 days. Yeah, if the president's like, no, 10 days later, it'll just become a law anyway. Okay. So what is this law? Let's see. Let me break it down for you. Actually, no, let me keep reading this for you. Trump's rejection of the bipartisan housing legislation exacerbates tensions within his own party in a midterm election year and cuts short their efforts to address a key voter concern about rising costs. His posts come more than a week after he canceled plans to sign the bipartisan legislation, announcing that he was using it as leverage in his push for a strict voter ID bill. Policy experts agree that this bill is primarily, here's the thing, a supply side package. This means its core strategy is to build a massive number of new homes to fix the nation's estimated 7 million unit housing shortage under the economic theory that increasing supply will naturally drive prices down. Yeah, this is just supply side trickle down bullshit that says, and that most of us have been brainwashed to believe. It says that if you just give the job providers everything they want, it'll be good. It wasn't good. The jobs went to India and Mexico and Southeast Asia. It wasn't good. Supply side bullshit. This bill is being presented to us as something to help the working man. No, here's what the bill does. What this road to... Remember, it's supposed to help people. First-time buyers are going to be the ones who are going to benefit the most. The first 21st Century Road to Housing Act. What it does is make it easier for people who develop entire subdivisions in cities to get around regulations. That's essentially what this housing bill does. The thinking is, and the way it's being sold to the peasant class, is that, well, if they don't have so many pesky regulations run at the municipal level and the state level, then they'll be able to build your little shit box. Here's the other thing. Yeah, I said shit box because this law now gets rid of all kinds of regulations that surround prefabricated housing. You know, trailers, double wides that are some of them are beautiful. My God, have you seen some of these retirement communities with these people that have double wides or triple wides or whatever, and they build decks and they live on lakes and they're gorgeous. But there's always been regulations about those things because if the wind blows too hard, everybody fucking dies. So where you put these things have always been highly regulated. Not anymore, thanks to the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, which promises to benefit you, the guy who can't get a mortgage loan. Right? And there's no relief for anything like that. There is nothing in the 21st Century Road to Housing Act that helps a first-time buyer with their down payment. No. What it does is it helps the guy who wants to build 1,000 houses on the edge of town do it quicker, cheaper, and then the thinking is, but those houses will be available for you to buy sooner. As if the problem with home ownership in this country is that there aren't enough houses to buy. That's what they're asking you to swallow with this when they present it to you as something that's bipartisan and benefits everybody because it has to, because it's bipartisan. That's the fault in the thinking. The fault in the thinking is believing that either party, the right or the left, are coming at these issues with our best interests in mind. They're not. They are protectors of the status quo. So anything like this that is bipartisan, and then you look at and you see who it benefits, you're reminded that both parties are broken. Bipartisan my ass. Does nothing to help you buy a home. Does nothing about, down payment relief. All it does is help a bunch of rich guys. It also helps them get loans now. They can now get loans from community banks. So anyway, there you have it. It's going to be a law anyway, and it's going to allow people to put double wide trailer park communities wherever they want now, which is fine. A lot of them are nice. I'm just saying. Oh, also, box construction. There was a thing somebody wrote about, this is going to ease restrictions on Have you seen the shipping container craze? The shipping container, we've got too many of these shipping containers that, when you see these boats on the open ocean and there's like 1,000 of these, they look like train cars, box cars. They come over on a boat and then they get put on a train, and it's what you get stuck waiting for the gate to go up watching, right? All these different boxes. All right, so apparently we got too many of those. And there's a whole lot of people who want to start living in them because we're normalizing the idea that Americans don't need actual homes. We can now live in shelters and converted shipping containers. Seriously, don't be fooled. This is how the expectation is lowered. Cheaper. You think no, cheaper for them to sell to you. It's cheaper for them to sell you that shit. But there'll come a time when that's all there is, and they will not be cheaper. They will not be cheaper than whatever it is you're living in now. Normalizing the lowered expectations. Americans don't need brick houses. They're not going to have jobs. We're probably going to move to some kind of, universal income. It'll be the lowest in the globe. But they can now think about it. Now they can live in double wides anywhere they want. We're going to make it okay for them. This is how the Hunger Games started. This is like 200 years before the Hunger Games, right? There you have it. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act will become law without President Trump's signature. All right, let's do let's do this. We'll do the Netflix story. This is one that's we'll do, and then we're gonna take a break, and then we'll get Maddie. So Maddie, we're gonna take a break after this, and then we'll come to you. And if you're game, I want to talk about whatever it is that you got, but also this Graham Plantner thing. All right, Netflix. Let's talk a little bit about Netflix. As I said earlier, as we started the show, that to me, Netflix is probably the cleanest, along with HBO Max, the cleanest platform. If I got my smart TV up and I want to watch something and I put on Netflix, I click on my icon and boom, there I am. And one of the first things is continue watching, which I always appreciate. A lot of them try and get cute with your continue watching list. They try and put it all the way down. Why? Because they want you to see something else. Fuck you. I want to continue watching what I was watching when I turned this off last night. But Netflix is pretty good about it. HBO Max is also pretty good about it. Can't say the same for places like Prime and Hulu and Apple TV and oh my God, they're all Disney. They're all awful. They're all off. They're all upselling constantly. I know you pay us a monthly fee, but doesn't this look like something you'd like? Yeah? Yeah, well, you got to pay a new subscription for that one. That's Apple. That's Prime. That's Hulu. And I've always admired that Netflix didn't try and do that bullshit with me. And as I said about HBO Max, they're getting a little more cluttered with all of the different acquisitions that Warner, Discovery, whatever keeps making. CNN, is all over the place on your HBO Max platform now. But at least everything you click on that's being presented to you is something that's already free of charge for you to watch. And those are things that Netflix and HBO just simply, I think, do better than any of the other apps. Now, again, these are smart TV observations. This is not how it looks on your phone. We all know we have different platform layouts on different, devices. So, but as far as, watching in your living room on my smart TV, I have decided for all of us that Netflix and HBO Max are at least the cleanest. But, Netflix, as irritating as, and isn't this American capitalism, as irritating as the primes are and all that kind of stuff, we're getting pissed off, and they're, probably nowhere near as close as Netflix in subscriptions, because Netflix outdistances everybody in subscriptions. 175 million or something, right? Didn't we go over that number? To put it in perspective, something like Paramount Plus only has 70 million subscribers, but Netflix has like 175 million. So, okay, so there's you get an idea of the scale. So they got the subscribers, but, they're not getting all the side money that places like Prime is getting from the upsales of, buy this subscription. So they're falling behind, and they're falling behind on engagement as well. And so they're going to make a change over at Netflix, and it ain't a good one. I know I'm going to hate it. Let's see here. Executives who gathered for their annual business review this spring at Netflix had a lot to be cheerful about. Profits were rising, customer defections remained at industry lows, and it had hit franchises like Bridgerton and Stranger Things. But one metric was pointing in the wrong direction. Subscriber engagement was showing signs of decline. At the time, it was a small part of blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all we need to know. Subscriber engagement stuff. So here's what Netflix is going to do. And I hate this. Netflix is thinking about getting into the live TV game. And one of the ideas of what they're going to do is they're going to have a whole bunch of channels that are just that. Have you ever seen the free TV channels on your smart TV? If you just got a smart TV and you plug it in, like whatever the smart TV app will be, it's like, watch free TV. And it's all the weird channels. It's like, it's like the Friends channel where it's just nothing but Friends. The Law and Order channel, it's just nothing but Law and Order. Netflix is going to start doing that. They're going to start doing that. And they're also considering selling subscriptions to partner production companies, which is going to just make Netflix's beautifully clean screen more cluttered, or at least as cluttered as Prime. Why? Because our satisfaction and what we think is a pleasurable experience isn't important to them, even though they've got more subscribers than anybody else. Will people cancel their Netflix subscriptions? Probably not, because as I said earlier, it's now one of these utilities thought of that way. So it doesn't matter. They got us. Well, we subscribe to Netflix. We'll die subscribing to Netflix. And what they're going to do is they're going to maximize their profits by now doing the irritating things that the other platforms have been doing for years. Thanks, Netflix. That's American capitalism. So when you see a survey like we covered yesterday, where it shows that most Americans, a majority of Americans for the first time ever, do not have confidence in capitalism as a system. A majority of Americans. When you hear that yesterday, and then, I'm just here to remind you about Netflix, how they're just going to irritate you for more money in their pockets. Their service to you will decline, but they'll make more money because of it. So fuck you. Fuck you, American consumers. This is how we do things here. We're going to keep lowering the bar of what you expect as a fair exchange for your hard-earned dollar. We're going to keep lowering that bar, and you're going to accept it. Because you know what? We don't have tanks rolling through the streets. We're not being invaded by our neighbors. All in all, you American fat-suckling pig, you're pretty comfortable. Got no real enemies except for the guy across the street, and I dare think that the reason the guy across the street's your enemies is because you have no enemies. So now it's him, because that's who you are. All right. Thank you, folks. That's America. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. I need a refill on my coffee. Maddie's going to come back here and join us one more time. I want to throw a shout out to our July heroes. If you support this kind of talk radio, the kind of talk radio you can't hear anywhere else, certainly not on the AM or FM dial in any major American city. Nope. If you enjoy that every day at 12 p.m., I chop it up with you. My chicken's in the coop. That's what we call the chat room, our coop. Bring a friend. Our heroes, the people who support this show, because we don't have commercials. This is all I do. I live in poverty. Got to stay angry. Got to stay frosty for the war to come. No, I don't. Heroes for July. Thank you so much to Maddie. She's tipped 3 times in July. She's picking up 2 other people. 2 other people are sitting here enjoying this. Never even thought to drop a little something. Maddie picked you up. That's just wrong. Thank you to Peter. Peter's tips every day. Peter's had no idea how important that is. Barney, every couple of days dropping a little something. Thank you, Barney. Mikey D and Leslie as well. Mikey D and Leslie tip, they're good. I don't expect another tip. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. All right, quick break. If you want to join them on our July Wall of Fame, all you got to do is find the Venmo or the Cash App. It's easy. Don't be intimidated. It's so easy. It is so easy to do. I know the first time you're making a commitment to me. You're like, I got to download an app. I know that whole thing. But I think we have an intimate thing happening here. So I'm not afraid. Are you? All right, we're going to take a quick break. Maddie's going to join us. I got Plantner stuff. I want to go over what Plantner said with her, because if I had just done it by myself and she was in the chat room, she'd give me an earful. So we'll do that. And she also comes loaded for bear. She's got a whole bunch of stuff. Happy Mooney Day here on the south side of Chicago. Minnetonka County returns from the injured list. We're very excited. We're just counting down the hours, and we're going to fill a couple of them here with more talk after this. Okay? Back after this. All right, we're back. We are back. Welcome back to part 2 of today's Friday offering. I am Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. We still got a bunch of stuff we want to get into today. Fun stuff. We're gonna do some with Maddie here, and then when we wrap with her, then we're gonna wrap the show up with a whole bunch of fun stuff. We're gonna watch videos. We got themes. We got a whole new segment that we're gonna do where we look at just the kind of great American crime from different states, that just the stuff that made us. I don't know, whatever. That stuff that makes us who we are. Chaos crime, that's what we'll call it. Rampage crime. But first, we got to talk to Maddie on a Friday. Check in with her. We talk to her a couple of times a week. Also, we'll be appearing on her own little stream now from time to time when she'll have me, or when it doesn't conflict with the White Sox game that my son and I really want to watch. Either one, you can hear me on her stream. There she is.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday.
All right, Maddie. It is Friday. Happy Friday to you.
Yeah, you were talking about our stream. Some people from the room normally did jump in the other night. It was super fun. We did what we do. We did Wednesday night, right?
Yeah. It wasn't loud. Yeah, it was Wednesday night. Yeah. We tried to do Tuesday, and then
had some technical problems. But then I worked out the technical problems. We still have a little bit tweaking to do. I did some more tweaking. I think I got that fixed. So for anybody out there that loves to listen to Pugs, I'm gonna start with like a Tuesday night and a Sunday night stream, and we're gonna start that around 7:30. It's gonna be a lot of lefty politics, but also some other stuff too. I don't want to be too heavy all the time. But Wednesday was fun. Pugs came on. We talked about a lot of stuff.
All right, today we're going to talk about a lot of stuff too, but first I want to wrap up the whole Graham Plantner situation from Maine. Yeah, exactly. I think it's safe to say that we're going to be able to put him in our rearview mirror. I don't imagine that he's going to pop back up in a year or so unless he's leading some, weird Maine white supremacy group.
I mean, although he is trying literally by the tips of his fingernails to hold on to this thing. I mean, yes, he did step down, but he is still I'm still not satisfied with his level of accountability or ownership of any of this. And he's literally been painting this with his own verbiage as even though I don't want to do it and I disagree with all of this, I guess I'll go ahead and step down. But he's still trying to control the narrative a lot.
Yeah, he's taking no responsibility for anything. He's saying that, he still wants it to be believed to be a part of, his PTSD past. And by the way, congratulations on him. He seems to be suggesting that he's cured himself of PTSD, which is good.
Crazy. But he's also saying that he should in some sort of fashion be part of the decision making for the person to lead the charge. And it's no, bro, fuck off.
Yeah,
nobody wants your input.
All right, well, I want to put a bow on the whole Graham Plantner thing by discussing with you something we never got into. We talked a lot about the Nazi tattoo. We talked a lot about the different women that he dated, whether it was Jenny Ruckencoat.
Is that what you want to talk about? I knew about the Reddit post.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew about them too, but they're being used now by people on the corporate left. Throw one guy under the bus in particular, Dan Pfeiffer. Dan Pfeiffer, who was an Obama speechwriter. Pod Save America, I think, is the podcast that he does. Dan Pfeiffer is now look, he promoted this guy. Dan Pfeiffer was one of the more important voices in Democratic politics. I'm not even going to say left. I'm going to say Democratic politics because that's the machine he comes from.
Let's make that distinction. Establishment Democrat politics. Right?
Yes, that's who he is. So he actually went out on a limb and embraced Plantner. Well, now today he's saying, "Oh, I don't know how I got it so wrong," and he's completely turned on the guy that he initially made a national talking point by featuring him on Pod Save America very early when nobody gives a shit about Maine, right? So anyway, he is apologizing now, and he's saying that he knew about the Reddit posts, and this is why the Reddit posts are back in the news, Dan Pfeiffer knew about the Reddit posts, but he didn't think that they were all of that alarming, and especially after it was explained to him that he was drinking a lot due to PTSD, he was willing to overlook them.
Wow.
So I want to go. I want to go through these a couple of these. Okay, first of all, are you aware that Graham Plantner was on Reddit under the name P Hustle?
No, I didn't know what his handle was on Reddit. Like I said, mostly what I saw were like screenshots of some very specific posts. I don't know if I noted that, but P Hustle.
P Hustle. That says a lot to me. That's he's a douchebag. That's a douchebag handle. If you're a P, call me P Hustle, and he means it without a lick of irony. Like if I want,
it's very immature for sure. It sounds like somebody who has an old Yahoo email address from when they were in their early 20s, but they're still using it as an adult, and it says something like "cutie baby 6969," but yet you have to use that when you go like do business at the bank, and then you get the weird look. Yeah.
Well, I'll surmise it this way. It's very much Michael Scott. P Hustle is very much Michael Scott.
Yeah. But he thinks it's cool. Yes. But everybody else thinks it's dumb.
Right. Yeah. Unironically. All right. So as P Hustle, he made some prominent and very controversial posts over the years.
Yeah.
In 2013, let's go over this first one. In 2013, he wrote that people who were worried about assault should, quote, take some responsibility for themselves and not get so fucked up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. And he added, act like an adult for fuck's sake. All right. Go ahead. Tell me about your reaction to that post.
Well, yeah, because like back whenever we were first having this conversation and you had brought me up and I was kind of, being really, really specific about my feelings on him, entering that woman's house and things like that. I had brought that up, I believe, in a chat room post because, he basically is saying like, if you go as a woman, if you go out and have a few drinks and then something bad happens to you in the form of sexual assault, well, you should just be more adult about it. And it's like, no, bro, like not at all. And it's clear to me that this is a common theme around his whole mindset, which is what the leftist politics have been screaming about from day one. These establishment Democrats that have been in the middle, they've been trying to whitewash this man's history and prop him up as the perfect example of how politics can work in Maine. The ones over in my camp have been pointing these things out since day one. And yes, it did start with the stupid tattoo. And I absolutely agree that was a little overblown, but it only started with, and then these Reddit posts were available to everyone over in my corner of the world way before anybody else even acknowledged them.
All right, so this was 13 years ago when he wrote, people worried about sexual assault should take some responsibility for themselves and not get so fucked up that they, well, hold on, let me read it. I don't want there to be any misunderstanding of what he said. Take some responsibility for themselves and not get so fucked up that they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. They should act like an adult for fuck's sake. Okay. Now you say that he's victim blaming. I can't get past the idea that he would be so loud and proud with this in this way, and then think that this wouldn't become a problem when he gets high profile as a Senate candidate. Anyway, yes, it's something that I would have maybe said back in 2013, something that I wouldn't feel good about today. I don't think it advocates for sexual assault. I think. Look, I always go back to a story of this girl named Ashley. Her name was Ashley. We were in a bar. She was a friend of a girl I was dating. And Ashley came running up to us and said, guys, I don't need a ride home because I met these guys and we're going to Houston to see Kiss. Apparently Kiss was playing in Houston. And it was 2:00 in the morning. And I remember my girlfriend saying, who was the mother of my son at the time, she said to her, she goes, you're not doing this. You don't know. And she went off and she was fine. But I lectured her in the moment. I said, if something terrible happens to you, you brought this on yourself. Now, am I a monster for that, for having said that in the moment. She was fine. I was completely wrong. But don't you see that as an incredibly reckless and risky decision that this young drunk woman made in the moment?
I mean, absolutely, and certainly have been guilty of, similar poor decision making in my life, especially when, I still drank and, and wasn't always very careful about the company that I kept because, I mean, those are things too. And obviously, I look back on those things now and go, God, in some cases, I felt very fortunate because nothing bad did happen. But sometimes those things weren't the truth. But I still don't buy into the idea that as a woman, as any human being, I don't care. I mean, if you are vulnerable, and you are maybe naive to the idea that something bad can happen to you, I don't think it is deserving of something bad happening to you.
Well, being naive to the idea isn't another way of saying that maybe you should grow up, maybe you should mature. Why are you being naive to the idea of these terrible things that can happen to you? This is the frustration that you may say, as easily as you seem to suggest he was advocating or making excuses for or victim blaming. I can say he sounds also to me like a frustrated dad who is looking at his teenage daughter and her friends and identifying behavior as being particularly reckless in the world that he knows. I don't know that that's victim blaming. I asked again when I said that to Ashley, when I said what I said, which was essentially grow up at the end of it. But when I said to her, if you end up dead, this is your fault. Was I wrong in that moment when I was trying to protect her? Because if I guess it depends on when you say it. I said it in the moment, so it's fine. But if I then went on Twitter and or whatever and told that story, I would be bad. Like I don't see it as victim blaming. I see it as something inartful that he said. That he sounds like a frustrated dad to me. So on that one in particular, no, I don't see it as victim blaming.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we can agree to disagree on that because
reasonable people can, Maddie, and that's what we're trying to get
and
to.
that's fine. Like I said, I'm not going to ever force somebody to see it my way, but I mean, it definitely does fall into the camp of victim blaming to me. And I mean, we see people all the time fall victim to any number of horrific circumstances. I mean, you have been talking for many months now about that poor little girl that got shot by that guy
Lily
in
Bova.
Chicago.
Lily Bova. Yeah.
And her father is outraged at the outcome of this, and that was somebody that they kind of knew and maybe even trusted to a degree, and look at what bad thing happened to her. So bad things can happen, and it doesn't matter if it's someone you know and are comfortable with. We have seen that time and time again, or if it is what you were describing, which is a friend who maybe in that moment was too inebriated to make good decision making, and thankfully nothing bad happened to her. But I will never side with the idea that simply because you put yourself in a position or you're wrong place, wrong time, that you then deserve the outcome or should expect for people to have ill will towards you, whether that comes in the form of violence or sexual assault.
All right, here's another Reddit post that he'd been highly criticized for. I think this one comes to us from 2013 as well. In a thread asking users about other races, here we go. Plattner, who worked as a bartender, asked why Black people don't tip, remarking on how, quote, solid this stereotype is based on his own life experience. Go ahead, have at it.
I mean, it certainly could be painted as racist. You and I have also both worked in the service industry. I used to bartend. I bartended through a lot of my adult life. I wouldn't say that overwhelmingly I have experienced that only Black people don't tip. I think that that's a very odd stereotypical take to have, and perhaps Black people don't like him. I don't know.
Okay, so first of all, you said it definitely feels racist to you. I don't know how that's racist. I have no idea how that's racist. It's an observation. Are there not differences in our skin color? Is one not black and one not white? If you agree with that, then there are differences. We have differences, cultural differences. And I have worked for years as a bartender, as a waiter, as a pizza delivery guy, and I have talked about this subject on the air endlessly. Black people don't tip. Now, I don't know why we can't say that because, we're called a racist, but they don't. It's not in their culture. You deliver a pizza to a black person on the south side of Chicago, that guy ain't gonna tip you. It's a thing. And it's not racist to observe that. It's not a part of their culture the way it has become a part of American suburban white culture. That's all. It says nothing more about them as people other than it's a fucking fact. And to pretend like it's not is nonsense.
Maybe black people don't like you, pugs.
Exactly. And that's their prerogative. Right.
I have bartended in places where black people frequented. I've bartended all over Dallas and Baton Rouge and New Orleans and all kinds of places. And I can't say for certain that I ever felt like a black client was definitely not going to tip me. And whether it was in a restaurant or a bar, now I've never delivered pizzas. I would say that that's never been my personal experience, but I have worked in fine dining. I have worked in, fast casual dining. I have bartended and done all kinds of things. And I don't ever remember the minute a black person walked up to me, especially black men. Black men fucking love white women. I've always done well with black guys.
Yeah, maybe. But I also know every waiter and waitress I've ever known, and none of them, at least, well, not none of them, you can't say that, but I would not describe them as overtly racist. They will tell you that they do not want to wait on the black couple because they won't tip you.
That's never been my experience. Now, I tell you who won't tip a white woman who is waiting on them are two judgy white girls.
Oh yeah, a pretty white girl will get stiffed by 2 mil. Yeah,
park at your bar and sit there and drink the most complex cocktails that you have to sit there and squeeze juices for,
right?
and fucking orange peels and blah 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 blah. Who are there to catch, like, you can pick them out.
Yeah,
they're not there to get picked up on men. They're there to, like, because maybe they went to college together, or maybe they work together, or something like that. They want to park at your bar. They want complex cocktails. They want to snap fingers at you and jiggle empty glasses at you. And those are the ones that when they would walk up, if I happened to be working with another guy bartender, I would go, those ones are yours.
Well, look, those women, and you're absolutely right. They are the worst tippers out there, especially if the bartender happens to be.
Or they might put something up, but it's not nearly commiserate.
No, it's a performative bad tip where they want them to know, I'll leave the change or whatever.
Yes. Together, like, those are the ones who will sit there and try to split the check down to the fucking penny, run your ass off.
Right, multiple cards. You got to run multiple cards.
And you're lucky if you get a 10% tip.
But it's okay. The bartender doesn't mind because those same women's husbands are over tipping this bartender when they come in and sit down at the other end of the bar. So it all evens out. All right, let's move on. Here's another one of these troubling Reddits posts or whatnot that Graham Plantner had put out there that people like Dan Pfeiffer or whomever from Pod Save America were willing to overlook. By the way, don't forget, he was willing to overlook all of this stuff.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Let's start with this one. Anti-police rhetoric. He made posts dismissing, quote, all police officers as bastards.
Really?
Yeah. That one I think is troubling because I come from a cop family. And one thing I know about good cops is that they are well aware that there are a lot of bad cops and good cops will call bad cops out. But going public and not supporting, your kid's little league coach because he also happens to wear a badge. Fuck that. This is terrible stuff. There are bad cops. We've seen them. Oh, we got videos. The whole reason we got so many good videos now is because there have been so many bad cops in the past. But, just using that wide brush. I mean, you're talking about too many good people. All right, your thoughts on that?
I think that is, no, I don't agree with that. I mean, I am not an anti-law and order leftist, although those do exist. I mean, I just don't believe that we have advanced enough in society to not have a rule of law or law enforcement. Now, where I fall on that is I also agree with you in the fact that we need to do some reform there because there's some really shitty cops out there. I mean,
Right.
there's a guy right now that's being investigated because he used flock camera information to stalk a woman he was interested in I think that was in Florida, and he referred to her as a shiny thing that he saw that he was interested in, and he tracked her down and pulled her over on the side of the road in order to pick her up and try to get her phone number. I'm not cool with that.
Uh, well, my
Yeah,
problem,
that's
my problem with this isn't so much the specifics of the job that he is slandering. It's anybody who uses all. It's like all
yeah,
police. I mean, that shows a lack of intelligence and a reluctance to wade into the nuance. Because not all of anything. When I said black people don't tip, all black people do not fit into that category. I've been tipped really well by some black people. I'm just saying that overall, my experience has been that it's not a cultural thing as important to them as
yeah,
maybe it is to others. Cops are not all bad. All right, moving
not
on.
all that.
Here's another one that he said. He said disparaging rural Americans. He went on Reddit and he said that white rural white Americans actually are racist and unintelligent. Maddie, take that one first.
Wow, thanks for the setup. Okay. Well, I mean, we all know that I do live in a rural area. All again, the use of the word all doesn't, I think, is oversimplifying something. We do see what seems to be the prevalence of the lack of comprehension or understanding about differences in society, especially nowadays where we normally see that comes in the form of the Muslim conversation. But I wouldn't say that all my neighbors down here in rural South Louisiana are inherently racist. No, I would not agree with that.
Okay, well, I would not agree with it put this way, but let's change a couple of words and let's see if we can't nuance this. Again, Graham Plantner apparently wrote that white rural Americans are actually racist and unintelligent, and he was proud of that. And now people are saying that's not fair. What if he had said white rural Americans are set in their ways and non worldly? Would that change it at all? Because really, when you
Um,
say racism, I parse with racism. People can be bigots and set in their ways and fearful of things they don't understand without actually thinking their skin color is superior to another, right? Racism to me is a very specific thing. Being bigoted and being fearful of the outside world because you were raised on a farm where your nearest neighbor is 5 miles away is going to give you a different worldview than a kid who was raised on the fifth floor of a 10-story building in Manhattan. All right. I mean, it's just different. Worldly doesn't mean you have to have traveled the world. Worldly just means that your neighbors were from the fucking Philippines and the person downstairs was a Jewish family and upstairs were, Turks or whatever. The urban experience versus the rural experience. I don't know that it makes you a racist and it doesn't make you unintelligent. It's just that you haven't met all that many people different than you.
right,
So you don't have a
right.
whole lot of that information in your head. That's how I
Yeah,
would say it. And I would stand by that.
yeah. No, I would agree with that. And I mean, again, it's the need for him to apparently, throw everybody in a category and not really be well thought out in his approach. I mean, it could certainly be that, for sure. I've often experienced some lack of awareness in my area because there's a lot of people, especially where I live, that have never traveled or left the state at all. Like I can't believe when I moved here how many people, even though I'm like 2 hours from Houston, have never been to Houston, right? And
Right.
sure, when you don't venture out from your little echo chamber of the world and experience other cultures, cuisines, religions, ideologies, people's lived experiences, or seek to interact with people like that, you can have what I would call a very limited worldview. And so I think that is probably a much more appropriate or educated way of presenting that what he's, I think, maybe trying to say here. um without coming off sounding like a dum-dum, which is what he does sound like.
It's what I always used to say when people are like, every journalist is liberal. Why are they always liberal? And my response to that was always, well, because they've been everywhere. They've talked to everyone. They have this incredible wealth of experiences that you don't. So they're not as closed off. The people
That's the same reason why most college graduates or people that have earned higher degrees tend to vote Democrat or liberal, is because they have sought knowledge beyond just the things that their community or even their family have presented to them, and so they have much more critical thinking, right? So then they make different choices than the ones that are just fed to them.
The openness of your mind when it comes to things that affect all of us, I think, is directly related to the accumulation of life experiences that you've enjoyed, the people you've met, the experiences you've had.
Right.
When your life has been, I'm from a small
Limited.
town and, I work in my daddy's hardware store. When that's been your life, you simply do not have the accumulated life experiences to understand the plight of others or what is really happening. All right, moving on. That's done. Let's move on from these. What you got any comments on him going around saying that he was a communist? That's another one. Apparently, in a bunch of these slurs, he called himself a communist. He outlined his political shift. Says that this was due to serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he stated that the older he got, the more communist he became. Before later describing himself as a psychedelics-taking socialist. Any thoughts on that?
Oh my God.
He's a Joe Rogan guy. He is such a Joe. His Joe Rogan interview next month. Not that it's been announced, but it will be. His Joe Rogan interview next month is going to have him running as an independent candidate for president. Watch.
Wow.
The grift isn't over with this guy.
Yeah. Like I said, to me at this point, every single thing he says, it just is so disingenuous. And of course, the news media, legacy news, but a lot of influencers and on the right and on the left, I'm going to throw us out there too, are in a feeding frenzy behind all of this and taking, any number of, in my opinion, odd positions behind, some people are doing the the end zone dance about we told you he's a fucking creep, and I don't know that I feel all that way about this too. I think it's really kind of sad that he did this, but also that this consultant firm kind of plucked him out of obscurity behind this this conservation.
He's recruited. He's a system politician, right? Hold on. Let's address Frank, one of your favorite people. Frank just posted in the chat room. I put it up here. He says Plantner is the modern Democratic Party, and I'm wondering, Frank, how does your brain work that you come to this decision and then you go forward? He has been completely excommunicated from the Democratic Party. Plantner might be something, Frankie, but he has absolutely been booted from the Democratic Party. So for you to come on here and be like, he's the modern Democrat, that's an absurd thing to say. Frank also, I believe that he is being a bit absurd here, tongue-in-cheek, when Frank says, urban people are better than rural people, and then follows that up with, I myself are better than anyone who is from a rural community or those that haven't been to college. All right, so I don't believe that Frank is being honest there. I think he thinks that that's what we're saying. So he's trying to echo that. And if that is what Frank thinks we are saying, then, maybe he belongs living in a rural community. All right.
We'll see how he fits in.
We'll see how he fits in. I'll
say to you, which is what most right wingers tend to say to leftists, which is, if you don't like it, move there. So go on and move to a rural community.
I would never.
With your particular complexion, background, way of speaking, the things you do, and all the things, just go ahead and bottle it up and move to, I don't know, what would be a rural community considered. Dallas has sucked up most of the
Dallas is not rural. North Texas is not rural. 100 miles outside of Dallas to the east is rural. Like East Texas is pretty rural.
Well, Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so wherever hasn't been sucked up by the sprawl of Dallas, by all means, invite yourself to go and spend some time over there, and then you can determine for yourself if you think that you are better or not.
We are running out of time here, and I know that I tasked you with putting together your weekly segment, and I want to get to that. So let's move forward. Don't you have a Maddie segment? All right, let's go. Here we go.
I do. I have a Maddie segment, and I took some inspiration from you because I noticed this week you started to do your Dick of the Day segment. So my segment is called the Petty Lefties Creeps of the Week.
Oh, Petty Lefty Creeps of the Week. All right.
Yes.
All right. Do
Petty
tell.
Lefty. And I'm glad we covered Plattner because he made my top. I have 5. He's on the 5th position of my petty lefty creeps of the week for all the things we just described. He's a sex pest. He's a fucking narcissist. He's all these things. So Graham Plattner falls into 5th position on my creeps of the week.
Did you call him a sex pest? I love that term. I love that.
Yeah,
all right, continue.
Okay. In 4th position, I gave my Petty Lefty Creep of the Week award to Jake Tapper for being a piece of shit during that entire interview with that girl.
Yeah. Jake Tapper is he's from a school that trained him up to be a specific kind of media personality. And that kind of media personality looks so inauthentic and phony by today's standards. I couldn't agree more. I hate that guy. Ugh.
Yeah. So my 3rd position goes to Kevin McCarthy. Do you remember or know who Kevin McCarthy is?
Former sharp ass silver fox, former speaker Kevin McCarthy out there blowing like a paper bag in the California wind. What's he doing now? What's Kevin McCarthy getting into?
Well, he was ousted by the Republican Party
or Matt Gaetz, depending on how you're
because of Matt Gaetz and all that stuff. And so, in the wake of this Graham Plattner thing, Kevin McCarthy went on Fox News this week, and Kevin McCarthy made an interesting statement. He wasn't up there for very long, and he said, I'm going to paraphrase here, that the Democrats should be ashamed of themselves because when these things happen on the Republican side, we get rid of those guys immediately.
What?
Yeah. And I quite frankly don't know who the fuck he's talking about because currently at this very time we are talking, there are literally 2 men sitting in positions on the Hill. Corey Mills and Max Miller, who are both, Corey Mills is under investigation right now for soliciting sex to minors. And Max Miller was credibly accused and had to settle out of court with his ex-wife for throwing hot boiling water on her while she was fucking pregnant, but also many other things. And he's tried to quiet that down a little bit, but I do believe we're going to see that again. And that is only 2 examples.
Well, it's 2 examples. You're ignoring the president of the United States.
You're mentioning because I could certainly bring him up too, or Pete Hegseth or any number of other people.
All of these people have been credibly accused. It's never been adjudicated, but Pete Hegseth is obviously the type of guy who gets a little too drunk and handsy. I'd like to hear those stories explored, and we will during the next administration. But you don't have to dig too deep. They ran Herschel Walker for Senate. They ran Judge Roy Moore. I mean, stop it. I mean, Kevin McCarthy doesn't believe what he's saying.
Right, who are saying, look at the Democrats. They don't get rid of their guys like we do. When they have somebody, they bring them up. We give it them. No, you fucking don't.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they did that to you, and maybe they did that to Matt Gaetz because it was just so completely impossible to ignore. And you're speaking from your own personal opinion because your party just fucking destroyed you in your position, but absolutely not. So he's got my 3rd position.
All right, hold on.
Where position creep of the week?
Where did he say that on? Did he say he said that on Fox?
Fox News.
All right, so here's what's going on from his side. Kevin McCarthy knows that's an absurd thing to say, but he doesn't care because he has no shame. And he's going to go on Fox and he's going to say it because what he's doing is he's offering a stupid talking point for people on Facebook or people on Twitter or whatever.
For people who watch Fox News.
Right now they're going to go out there and say, well, if this was a Republican, we'd have cleaned out. They just gaslighting themselves, saying absolute nonsense because Kevin McCarthy said it on TV and he was wearing an expensive suit and he had a nice haircut. So Kevin McCarthy knows what he's saying isn't true, but he also knows the people that are hearing him say it are fucking stupid and little misinformation mules that he can use to benefit his own side. That's what's going on there. Kevin McCarthy does not think that.
Yeah, no, and of course he would say that on Fox News and not get any pushback.
Right.
Like no pushback.
That's why you say it there.
That's the place where you can say it. Yeah.
All right, that's number 3. Give me number 2.
So number 2 is a gentleman by the name of Victor Marx, and to fly in the face of Kevin McCarthy.
Hold on to the night. Hold
Victor
on
Marx?
to me. What? Don't mean nothing. Come on, Victor Marx, pop singer. That's Richard Marx. Fuck me. Richard Marx.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? No.
I thought you were throwing...
Victor Marx, which we are just now starting to hear some bubble about. This is going to be an interesting story, and I'm going to come. I'm locking all of you motherfuckers in right now. Don't lose this one, because Victor Marx just won the Republican nomination as gubernatorial electorate for the state of Colorado. Nobody has been talking about him because he was like in 6th fucking place. All of a sudden, he has now, by a razor thin margin, gotten the Republican nomination. Let me tell you a little bit about Victor Marx. Victor Marx is a weirdo. He's a creep and a weirdo, and he has a podcast, and he's one of these Christian nationalist churchy guys. But the thing that is most bizarre about Victor Marx is that he, for years, has been talking about on his own podcast that he has been in the military, that he got into a gunfight in an ISIS fight somewhere over in the Middle East. So, and nobody's been able to substantiate any of that. So we got some stolen valor shit going on here. But one of the most bizarre things that he has been openly talking about is that since the age of 7, he was the recipient of child abuse from his father. And he has claimed on more than one occasion, with no substantiated proof, and has never been able to have any law enforcement agree to this at all, that at age 7, his father drug him out to a shop outside the back of his home, where he had knocked a man unconscious and forced Victor Marx to shoot him dead, and then buried him in the ground behind this house that he lived in Mississippi. By the way, Barney and Byron, for all your worry about carpetbagging, this guy's running for governor in Colorado. He was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, and has lived most of his life in Mississippi. So he's a carpetbagger.
They don't care. Carpetbagging is not a problem. They like to say it's a problem, but Vivek Ramaswamy is on the verge.
Carpetbagger, stolen valor, admitted killer of people, and has said, I started killing people at the age of 7. And this has become such a conversation that his opposition has run with the slogan, I'm the one that hasn't killed anyone.
Oh, that's where we are in 2026.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting election. This man just got the Republican nominee. So I don't know what Kevin McCarthy thinks about that, because after all the Graham Plattner shit that just happened, where they pearl clutched through this, they just nominated this motherfucker to run for governor in Colorado.
All right, what else? Give me one more. Give me the last one. We're back to number 1. This is your lefty creep of the week.
Lefty creep of the week goes to famous actor James Woods.
Ooh, I got James Woods stories, but go ahead.
So James Woods, in general, a creep, but all of his past bad behavior is being drugged back up because, he got into a squabble with Elon Musk about Elon Musk several years ago, talking about he was going to eliminate the block button because, James went full on MAGA, and he loves to troll people on his X account. In fact, I got into something with James Woods during the LA mayor election. I don't think he blocked me, but it was an an interesting conversation. I'll take that. So anyway, but he's coming back up now because he now has his social media accounts all on lockdown, and now people are dredging back up that old story from 2017 where he invited two 16-year-old girls to Las Vegas, and then they turned around and Amber Tamblyn was one of them, and then her friend, where he had invited them from Mel's Diner in Hollywood to go with him to Las Vegas, and they sat there and said, "We are only 16," and he said, "Even better." Yeah.
Come on, it was the 70s. They were, what's that? It was the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was not the 70s. And so that's all coming back up to light, for James Woods. And he is one of my all-time creeps because I think he's a piece of shit. But I do have an honorable mention before I get off, and this goes back to I think last week when you talked about the movie Citizen Vigilante, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it yet. I'm not a snowflake though, and I will watch it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I did want to tap back to that because this week your boy Armie Hammer, who is a creep and he is a piece of shit. And this is an honorable mention because, and it's a duo because it wouldn't matter except for UA Bowl too. And so now apparently Armie Hammer is having some buyer's remorse. He only got paid, $250,000 to be a part of this movie, and people are outraged. Now, whether you agree with the outrage or not, but in the face of this outrage, Armie Hammer came out this week and said that he is devastated and horrified at how violent and horrible this movie was. And he's saying that he had no idea that the movie was going to be like that. And UA Bowl responded and said, "Get over it, Buttercup, because you were a piece of shit. You were a cannibal and a sex pest. And I got you out of obscurity and put you in my movie. So I don't really give a shit what the fuck you think about my shitty movie." Boom. Honorable mention to UA Bowl and Armie Hammer.
All right. So another way of looking at that, and I'm familiar with that story, and this is what I think has happened here. I think that Armie Hammer, who you were right, he would talk about, being canceled. I mean, he was toxic because his indiscretions were the weirdest they were Dahmer-esque, and had to do
very
with,
strange.
Yeah, eating people. He didn't eat anybody. By the way, my son, who's 17 years old.
I think he has some weird sex
they're fantasies. That's all. Yeah, they're sex fantasies. We have no right to. All right, creepy, whatever. Everybody has sex fantasies. We have no right to know anybody else's sex fantasy. That's from the go. But since we do, and apparently it's okay to judge people, he was ostracized from what looked like a fairly on the rise career. It looked like he was going to be a leading man movie star. Comes from an elite American family, good looking guy, not a bad actor, I guess. So here's what happened. He gets completely sidelined by this thing, and he has to end up doing this movie, which no other actor would have touched, for obvious reasons. But he did because he needed to do something. He needed an opportunity.
He said before he took the movie role, when he was super jazzed about it, that he would have done a cat food commercial.
Yes, of course. So he did the movie because it was offered to him, and he crushed in this movie. And I sat watching his performance in this movie, and I went, this guy's a good actor. I bet this is going to lead to more roles. And other people noted that as well. Even some people, and I know most have just, dismissed the film out of hand because of Bowles' past or because of perceived political ideology behind the film, whatever. His performance is pretty good. Adam says it was stoic and terrible and blah, 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 but I don't think Adam watched it.
I haven't seen it. I'm not judging his performance.
I thought he was terrific. So my thought on this was, I think he might have a career again. I think he might slowly start getting cast in things. And my belief is that is what his agent is telling him. Hey, our phone is ringing. People are like, you were pretty good in that, and maybe they can slide you into stuff. So now he has to distance himself. He has to distance himself from that movie, because he now wants to be on an NBC sitcom or something, or they're developing a new SVU around him. Well, I think he thinks it might. I think he thinks it might, and he needs to now go back to being mainstream.
That's why I said buyer's remorse. He only got a measly $250,000 for this movie, which his agent and his fucking publisher and everybody else going to take their cut.
Taxes.
He's going to walk away with what, maybe 100,000, maybe 120,000 if he's fucking lucky.
He's a hammer.
Shit.
He's a hammer. That doesn't matter. They have generational wealth. he doesn't do
and
this
like
for
I said,
money.
And I mean, of course, but you know, the obscurity of it, that's what really hit him hard, was that, you know, he's a good looking, handsome guy and he did some weird shit and people didn't like it. And so, you know, and he lost his credibility because, I mean, let's face it, he was in a David Fincher movie, for fuck's sake. He could have been huge.
He was the Lone Ranger was a massive Hollywood failure that was built almost entirely around him. And he took the brunt of it. Nobody blamed Johnny Depp as Tonto. They all blamed him. And then, you know, a couple of years later, he got canceled with this whole weird thing about cannibalism and all that.
There was a lot of weird shit, though. Yeah. I mean, you know, driving around LA, driving to fucking Tijuana, Mexico, doing coke.
Again, I don't believe I know. It's fun because we know this stuff, but I don't believe we have a right to know any of this stuff about any of us. Whatever we do.
Except for the fact that he live streamed himself doing it. So he was comfortable with the fact, yes.
Like publicly? Was it a live stream between him and who he perceived to be one other person? You say he live streamed it. That sounds like you're suggesting he went on YouTube and said, everybody look at me.
TikTok.
All right.
He was on TikTok in his own vehicle with his phone propped up, and he was snorting cocaine and talking to, I think, another person in the car with him, going like, yeah, man, we're going to go. Like, he was fucking throwing it out.
You've never. Oh, right. Come on. You spend years with John Toll, and you're telling me that situation that you just described is somehow disqualifying?
Okay, I have never live streamed myself doing drugs.
He would have.
Absolutely fucking not.
That's only because live streaming wasn't available back then. But you would have.
Would I have? I had gainful employment other than my life with John Toll.
Yes, you did.
I was a fucking wine. I sold wine for a wine company when I worked for John. When I lived with John Toll. Absolutely not. I would have never agreed to any of that. Now, John, he loved to live permanently online, and permanently online back then looked way different.
Yes.
We weren't TikTok streaming and stuff like that. But this was not long ago. He knew exactly what he was fucking doing. He thought his name and his appearance would pass him through fucking life. You should be the one to be talking about this. He thought he could get away with it and nobody would give a shit. And then he started sending weird text messages to women that he had gone on dates with, talking about, I want to eat you and do all this weird shit. And I want to tie you down. I want to sneak into your house in the middle of the night. I want to play out a rape fantasy with you and all kind of shit. And people didn't like it. So fuck him. He's a creep. Fuck James Wood. He's a creep. And UA Bowl, as far as I'm concerned, you know what? Maybe he doesn't make my list, because I think he snuck one in on Army Hammer, and good for UA Bowl, because he said, you're a fucking piece of shit. And I paid you $250,000 to play in my fucking really fucking racist, terrorist fucking sounding movie, and you fell for it. Fuck you.
UA Bowl is definitely a creep. I think you're safe. You're safe from calling him a creep.
Yes.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you, Maddie. We'll be back at it either on Monday. Maybe on Monday we'll talk again to Maddie, and we'll figure out when Maddie and I will be back on doing something over on the Twitch. All right, thank you. Gotta run.
Fun segment. Thanks for having me up.
Okay, bye. There she goes. That's Maddie. All right, I got a bunch of stuff that I still want to get to. Like, I want to do the chaos segment, where a new segment every day where we're just going to look at a couple of different examples of everyday American chaos, the kind of shit that doesn't get covered because, well, we got to talk about, Trump fell asleep again. Let's convene a round table and spend the next 3 hours on primetime talking about, does Trump have a problem staying awake? Meanwhile, we got some insane mayhem happening from coast to coast, and we're going to spotlight a couple of places. 3, right? We're going to spotlight a Maryland woman. We're going to talk about a Kentucky couple and a Utah mom. Let's start there. M-A-Y-H-E-M in the USA. M-A-Y-H-E-M in the USA. All right, see, if we were on a radio station and I had producers, I'd be like, all right, get somebody to do a parody song of the John Cougar song, R-O-C-K in the USA. C-H-A-O-S, Chaos in the USA. I don't know, whatever. It's a new segment. We don't have any production for it, so we're just going to have to try and get through this. Excuse me. All right, first, a Utah mom. All right, what is this one? Let's not be silly. All right, let's get into this, huh? This ain't getting talked about. Boy, back in the day, someone like Nancy Grace, she might be able to get some mileage out of it, but now this is nothing exciting. Utah mom was calm as a cucumber after allegedly shooting her ex at an indoor playground. Yeah, let's get into the troubled world of weekend parenting and shared custody. And a mother has been charged with attempted murder after allegedly shooting her ex-husband, who arrived at an indoor playground in the hopes of seeing his children. According to charging documents obtained by the Salt Lake Tribune, 34-year-old Sarah Elias had reportedly not allowed her husband, 37-year-old Matthew Daniel Elias, to see their two children, ages 3 and 5, in months. So she hasn't so they're going through a divorce. She's not letting dad see the kids. 2 little girls, by the way, 3 and 5. Dad can't see the kids. And we don't know anything else. All we know is that this divorce or separation or whatever it is in the early stages where there is no judge decree saying that you get this weekend, you get that weekend. And in that no man's land is where a lot of these things happen. And that's what happened here. If you are going through your divorce, your end of marriage, and there are children involved, if you have a decent person that you are moving away from, you can make it work. You can make it work and there'll be no problems. I was lucky. Me and my son's mother. I mean, there was hurt feelings and there was tension and all that, but we didn't make trouble for each other, right? We made sure I get the kids sometime, you get the kids sometime, you know? Doesn't mean that everything's fine. Doesn't mean that oh yeah, we're best friends now. It doesn't mean that, but you can behave in a certain way. Not all people can. When the kids are involved, people turn into, it used to be said, it's not tug of war with the kids. That's not really what it is. I think the kids have very little to do with it. With what I've seen, with going through it myself and understanding what about me I had to check, it's all about ego. And the children are the trophy. You can't tell me that's my kid. And I mean, I've seen some absolutely insane behavior from parents who are friends of mine who I would never in a million years have thought that they would behave this way. This is your kid, man. Fuck him. He's got to choose. Right? Shit like that. Like, man, you are not thinking of the kid. So it can be worked out. It seems here in this situation, we know absolutely nothing other than it's the early stages and the mother is not letting the father see the kids. He's probably an abuser. He's probably an alcoholic. Shut your mouth. We don't know anything about this. It says here, the children and their mother regularly went to Kids Empire, which is an indoor playground. And Sarah Elias's ex-husband went there on May the 22nd to find them. According to employees, and by the way, again, this is not, no judge. He's not violating a judge's order. He's obviously a stalker. No, he's a normal dad who, for all we know, has done nothing wrong other than he hasn't been able to see his kids in 3 months, his little daughters. And so he's going to the place where he knows that they are. He's there to make trouble. You don't know that. We don't know anything. Those details that we've gotten so far tell us nothing other than father-mother divorce. There are no judicial permits or no judicial orders, nothing. It's the early stages, and they've got to make it work between themselves. She's there at Kids Zone. Dad wants to see the kids. He knows the kids are going to be at Kids Zone. Dad shows up. We're up to speed. He was probably drunken with his Puerto Rican girlfriend. What? What are you even talking about? We don't know any of those details. Let's continue. When Matthew Elias arrived at the business, Sarah Elias reportedly gave employees her children's information as well as her address in case, quote, something happens. So here's how this played out. So the mom apparently was seen on the phone arguing with somebody and then hung up the phone, went to an employee at Kidsland or whatever, and said, these are my children, blah, 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 just if something happens. And that's all she said, if something happens. When Matthew Elias arrived at the business, Sarah Elias reportedly gave employees her children's information as well as her address, quote, in case something happens. According to, she then smiled and said, "Showtime" to the employees. All right. I get that. That just might be a personality quirk. Like you're a little bit embarrassed because here you are with your kids at this kid place, and now your ex-husband is showing up, and you are thinking the worst could happen. So let me be smart. Let me be a good parent. All right, look, Kid Zone employees, look, my husband's going to show up, and here's the information. I'm just trying to make sure my kids, something terrible happens, whatever that's about. Right? You wouldn't be wrong to think, oh, this woman must think her husband is violent. And she would know because she was with him. So she's obviously taking this preemptive. Here, take my information in case something terrible happens. And then she turns to go out the door, but first says, "Showtime," which, could be seen as maybe smug or whatever, but I think that's fine. I think that's just a person going through life and like, oh, here we go again with this bullshit. All right, I'm so sorry about this, but folks, here we go. Showtime. Enjoy the show. He's going to be a real peach. It could be that as well. So just, thinking that this shows some kind of smugness on her part. Again, we don't know. We do not have enough information here. All right. Sarah Elias then entered, when Matthew Elias arrived at the business, Sarah wrote down or gave employees her children's information in case something were to happen. She then smiled and said, "Showtime," before going outside to see her ex, who had now arrived. They reportedly argued, according to witnesses, and within a few minutes, Matthew, the husband, came into the business and told employees to please call the police, telling them that Sarah has threatened to shoot him. All right. This is all we know. Two people going through a divorce, early stages, no judicial orders that are outlining shared custody or anything. So we're in this no man's land. She's got the kids out of kids chaos zone or whatever it is. Husband calls, "I want to see him, and I know that they're there." "You can't see him." Whatever. Hangs up the phone, goes to the employees. "My husband's on his way here, and I think there's going to be a big thing. Here are my kids' information in case something should happen." Right at that point, like I said, you'd be thinking maybe she's the one that's in danger. No, this story took a wild turn. When Matthew Elias arrived at the business, all right, Sarah gave the employees the kids' information. They then were seen outside arguing after she exited, saying "Showtime." And Matthew Elias, after the argument, came into the kid zone and asked the kid zone employees to please call the police. "She's threatening to kill me." Matthew Elias came into the business and told them to call police, please, saying that Sarah Elias had threatened to shoot him. Sarah Elias then entered Kid's empire and allegedly shot her ex twice at point-blank range. According to the Tribune, an employee took the children outside, and when Sarah Elias came out to get them a few minutes later, she was reportedly calm as a cucumber. All right. Police arrived and arrested Sarah Elias. The Salt Lake Tribune has now reported Matthew Elias was taken to the hospital in critical condition for gunshot wounds to the chest and pelvis. In district court, Sarah Elias was charged with attempted murder. KSL reports that she was also charged with 4 counts of committing domestic violence in the presence of a child. Okay, so that's how this terrible story turned out from Utah. But doesn't it just kind of go to show you? As it turns out, as we know now, throughout the course of this marriage, the police had been called to this house numerous times, and the husband was the one saying she's out of her mind. Let's not prejudge these stories, right? This was a crazy-ass bitch who was probably feeling emboldened by custody laws, which in the very early stages almost default entirely to the woman. In the early stage, the mom gets the kids. Look, let a judge figure it out. But for now, dad, work it out with the mom. And if the mom is a crazy bitch who is also capable of shooting you at in the parking lot of Kid Zone simply because she hasn't let you see them in 4 months and you're desperate to see your 2 and 3-year-olds. Oh my God. All right, there you have it. Utah chaos. I'd love to go into that story more. There is more on that story, but we got to move on because let's do another one. All right, here's a lady in Maryland. Let's go to Maryland. You don't really think about mayhem occurring in Maryland until they remind you that's where Baltimore is. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. So I guess Maryland is fucked up. Let's take a look at this lady. We got to look at this lady here. All right. Here's the woman from Maryland who is in the barrel now as we venture around this great country of ours, learning about the different chaos and mayhem. Is that it? I think this might be it. All right, there she is. All right. There she is. Look at her. Look at her. She's fabulous. All right. It says here, woman allegedly threatened Taco Bell employees with a gun because she was angry her order was taking too long. A woman in Chester Township, Maryland, a woman has been arrested and charged after police say she brandished a gun at Taco Bell employees. According to the Queen Anne County Sheriff's Office, deputies arrived at the Taco Bell restaurant on June 18th after receiving a report that a woman was threatening employees with a gun during an argument. Officers detained 30-year-old Ashley Andrews. Look at her. You could have bet dollars to donuts that her name was going to be Ashley. By the way, are there a lot of Ashleys still? Like, when was because Ashley's, I want to say that like between 1980 and 2000, 1 in 3 little girls born were named Ashley or Brittany. It was Ashley or Brittany. I don't know that there's that many. So what we're faced with now is we're faced with a nation of angry 50-year-old Ashleys. And this looks like one of them. Her name, Ashley Andrews, she had a gun, as well as another person who was in the car with her was also involved in the verbal altercation. Employees told deputies that Andrews had allegedly become very angry over the wait time for her food. She then lifted her shirt to show her gun. The witness statements were corroborated by surveillance and cell phone footage taken from inside the restaurant. Firearm was loaded, by the way. Andrews was arrested and charged with second-degree assault, reckless endangerment, and disturbing the peace. Posted $5,000 bail, and she was let out. All right, now, obviously, there's not a whole lot of meat to that story. But I did want to just look at this woman and just let's spend some time looking at her. What environment created a woman who, you know, I don't know. Okay, so the tattoo on the right arm that's a little bit high up, that might be sus, but I don't know. I can't get a good look at it. What environment created somebody who thinks that it's perfectly appropriate or an effective bargaining tool to go through a Taco Bell drive-thru and when your order is taking too long, threaten to murder them? I don't know. All right, that's Maryland. All right, now a fun one. So we've been to Utah. That wasn't fun. That was sad. That was about custody dispute. We had a stupid one in the Taco Bell parking lot. I just can't get past that one. Now let's go to Kentucky. All right, this is the most fun couple in Kentucky. Oh, we got to show these people too. All right, let's look at these people. We don't need to spend all that much time on this story because the story is really just a one-liner. It's just well, let's get a look at them. All right, there they are. Look at them. All right, so these two were pulled over in Kentucky. They were driving down the road. Apparently, they were all fucked up on all kinds of stuff. And so they got pulled over. And during a sweep of the car, you can see that in the middle there, they found a bag that says right there quite clearly on the bag. It says on the bag, definitely not a bag full of drugs. Definitely not a bag full of drugs. Well, as luck would have it, it was absolutely a bag full of drugs. Look at them. You know, they thought it was cute because they never imagined that they would be in a situation where a cop would be searching their car. Why they would never have imagined that is, you know, another conversation altogether. Because if I were these two people, I would assume there's constantly a warrant out for me. I am constantly at risk of being run. But no, they never thought that. And they were probably at what? I don't know, where would you get a bag like that? A flea market? Where were they? Some concert? And, they saw there, like, wouldn't that be funny? That's the bag we should keep all our drugs in. Yeah, that'd be funny. The bag that says definitely not a bag full of drugs. Anyway, there they are. Unlike the couple who climbed the Empire State Building last week, I have no interest in seeing these two Kentucky folk do an OnlyFans video. No interest at all. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Let's keep moving. Dick of the day. Let's do Dick of the day. This is a new segment that we just started this week. These are people who distinguish themselves. They walk among us. They're normal people. They distinguish themselves, but just dicky behavior. This dick of the day conversation we're going to have today concerns what I have to think would be the ultimate dick move. That's right, dick move. All right. It's really just, I don't even, we'll go into the details, but honestly, I don't want to bury the lead here. Here's the dick move. This story concerns a flight instructor, okay? A guy who teaches you how to fly an airplane. So you go up with your flight instructor, and this flight instructor in the middle of the lesson at like 10,000 feet jumped out of the airplane, committed suicide. Leaving, oh, that's a dick move, you guys. That is such a dick move. Horror aside, imagine being the guy who paid this guy to teach you how to fly. Yeah, you probably had to write a check or whatever, run your debit card or whatever, and you're like, okay, my life is in your hands. Headline here, flight instructor jumps to his death during lesson, leaving student pilot to land plane by herself. Look at that. Good thing she stayed in a courtyard by Marriott. Look at that. Girls can do anything guys can do. Doesn't matter the circumstance. All right, it says here it's Argentina. Well, doesn't that kind of lessen it now? Now that we know this is Argentina, kind of lessens it for me. I'm like, there are no rules down there. Those people aren't like us. Those people are different. An Argentinian flight instructor jumped out of a plane to his death in the middle of a flying lesson after telling his student, you know what you have to do, and leaving her to land the aircraft by herself. Leonardo Andres Bertazzo was identified as the instructor who bailed out of the Cessna 15G. The Cessna 150G aircraft over the central Argentinian town of Toledo, home of the Mudheads, and Corporal Klinger. He did this on July 4th, probably as a tribute to our 250. No, he was in Argentina. He didn't give a fuck about us. He bailed out over the Argentinian town of Toledo on July 4th, abandoning his underling in the process. You know what you have to do. Carry on, Bertazzo told the 22-year-old Rosario. Oh my God, a 22-year-old girl? Is there a picture of her? Is there a picture of him? Is this him? Oh my God, here he is. Oh my God, they got a picture of him. All right, here's the guy who bailed out. He looks like a real pilot. At least at some point he was. There he is. Bam, look at him. Look at him. That guy gets girls. That's the first thing. I'm sorry, I'm never going to change that. Whenever I see a new human being in front of me, my first thing is that dude gets chicks. He gets chicks. I don't know why that's the first thing, but this guy gets chicks. He's pilot. He's tall and thin. I mean, I don't know if he's handsome or not because I'm not gay, but he gets chicks. Look at him. And are you kind of shocked that he seems so together? This is the guy who took a 22-year-old flight student up in an airplane and in the middle of the flight said, you know what to do, and then jumped out to his death. That's today's dick of the day. All right. I don't need any more. What more you need? I'm sure there's more details. I could read it, but why? You get it. That's the whole point. Dick of the day. All right. 3 videos. Should we do 3 videos here? Okay. Here we'll do 3 videos. This is where I like to take 3 videos that I enjoyed circulating virally, and I want to share them with you. Maybe I have some thoughts. It's all girls today. This wasn't by design. It just turned out that way. Or at least it got to the last one, and I'm like, well, it shouldn't be another girl, should it? We shouldn't. And I'm like, but this is funny. We can talk about this. All right, so 3 girls, a female-themed 3 videos today. The first girl, I thought this was interesting. So the president of the United States is an absolute madman, and he just talks and says shit. He doesn't mean any of it. He has no respect for the listener. He doesn't care. He knows that people like me are just going to hear him fucking blah, 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 and I'm going to be like, he sucks and he's lying. And then he knows that all the people that like him are just going to be like, he's the best, and won't listen anyway. So he just regurgitates nonsense. Now, maybe we have honed ourselves into just tuning him out when he says stupid shit because that voice, we know the voice. And then it's the greatest I've ever, we tune it out. So when it's presented like this and we actually have to listen to the fucking words, check this out. This is some girl. She found herself a new way to go viral. She's not doing anything other than just reading verbatim the words of Donald Trump. Now, it's not coming out of Donald's voice. It's coming out of a, nice young woman's voice. It's a very pleasant voice. But let's listen. Let's listen to the words and the sentences that the leader of the free world is constructing. Here we go. This is our first entrant into today's 3 videos, the all-female edition of 3 videos. Let's enjoy this.
Did anything about them.
Obama actually gave them vast amounts of money. You'd like this. He gave them a plane load of money. $1.7 billion in green cash. They load up a Boeing. They loaded up a Boeing. 757. Remember the old 757? It was a beautiful plane loaded up with cash. They took all the seats out, and they took all of the cash from Virginia, Maryland, and DC banks. They had no money. They took every ounce of cash, put it in, flew it to a...
So this is him freeballing the question about what's the state of negotiations between you and Russia, and this is how he answered.
And gave them what these guys thought of when the door opened and the cash fell out of this beautiful plane. Beautiful plane. And then on top of that, they gave them billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, they gave it to the wrong.
All right, I'm sorry. I think the echo should be fixed. I apologize. We'll just move it back a little bit. Thank you, Maddie. That was Maddie letting me know. There's an echo because I had her button up when she was on, and I forgot to fix that. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
They loaded up a Boeing. 757. Remember the old 757? It was a beautiful plane loaded up with cash. They took all the seats out, and they took all of the cash from Virginia, Maryland, and DC banks. They had no money. They took every ounce of cash, put it in, flew it to Iran, and gave them the money. I wonder what these guys thought of when the door opened and the cash fell out of this big plane. Beautiful plane. And then on top of that, they gave them billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, they gave it to the wrong country. Frankly, you want to know the truth. And it began. And that was pretty much the
Obama
nuclear deal. Obama deal.
That was one of the worst tragedies that happened.
That's what happened in the Middle East. That deal set back that whole situation. They went with, frankly, they picked the wrong country. They picked the wrong country.
So apparently I can't do videos anymore. If that's not working, there is no reason.
I call it the Obama nuclear.
Oh my God. Okay, never mind. Really? The echo never got better? At no point did the echo get better. Okay, so now I got something else I got to fucking work on after the show. That should have eliminated the echo. There was a reason why there was an echo. It was a mistake that I made, and I corrected that mistake, and now I hear back that there was another echo. Fuck it. You know what? Isn't this just like a man? All right, we are abandoning the female only. We're abandoning it. We're not moving on. Well, I suppose we can do this one. We can do this one because the sound isn't important. This one is just about looking at it. This is, where do you see this? All right, here's our second. Oh, my mic isn't working now. There we go. All right, this is our second video today. I don't know if they're going to work.
So this is a team spider.
Jesus Christ. What? Oh, cool. It's one of those videos. There are certain videos on Twitter. I don't know what makes them special, but you can't control them. You just play. You can't pause them. Can't restart. All you can do is restart them. So that's what we'll do. So here's a girl, another girl. Here's a video. This is a weird girl. This, by the way, I just want to point out that she's a very pretty girl. We're gonna look at a very pretty girl here. But yeah, this is nope. I'm gonna have to pass on this. Look at this girl. Hold on, check her out. This is what she does. Yeah, see that? Yeah, that's a
working on. It's got some like the webbing is so.
She's like a spider girl. She likes spiders. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? She's cute, and if I was her age, I'd be like, I'm gonna pass. I'm not gonna date the spider girl. Okay. Anyway, watch.
It's kind of hard and like it's really neat. This is a mom, so she has a sack, but
Go now! What? What? You're kidding me. Look at this thing. Oh my God. Nope. This is gonna be a deal breaker for a lot of guys, I think. All right, there you go. Whatever. She's gonna, she goes viral. She's the girl on TikTok who lets spiders walk on her face. And she's cute, right? And that was my reaction. I'm like, oh my God, if I was like her age, there would be no way. That would be a total deal breaker. I used to smoking was a deal breaker for me back in the day. If a chick smoked, I'd be like, yeah, no. Let alone let spiders climb all over her face. No, thank you. All right, the last one that we'll focus on today. This is another one. This is girls. This is, I don't know what this is from, but I don't know if it's like from one of them Project Runway shows, or I don't know what this is. It seems very authentic. This is how I imagine women interact with each other, especially gorgeous women. Like, I think like the meanest, most hostile environment you can be in is if you've got a room with like 10 tens, like 10 girls who are absolute. You put them all in a room together, and I imagine it's going to be a feeding frenzy. They'll find out who the weak one is right away, and that person will die ritualistically in front of all the rest of them. Yeah, women are weird in that way. Anyway, look at this. Again, no idea if this is real or not, but I can tell you this is not how a man would handle this. And it's a good thing that men and women are different. I am not saying that this is the incorrect way to handle it. I am just pointing out that this is something that women can apparently do to each other, because the reaction wouldn't be the same as if it were a man. All right, let's watch this. Here we go. Here we go. Watch this. First of all, it seems to be a cat call for a bunch of models who are being called out one at a time to strut their stuff. This one right here, by the way, just not that I've spent copious amounts of time studying the merits of each and every one of these models, because I haven't, for all you know. But I will say this is like, what is going on with this woman? This is, I've never even imagined something so perfect. Anyway, watch. Ah, look at that! You see this? That little bitch. I don't even know if this is real, but okay, watch out. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. Watch. That's so hot. That is the way she just picked her up, showed that she was dialed into whatever the mission was. She wasn't going to allow herself to be distracted by her emotional instability, because most men wouldn't continue on with the task as if nothing happened. Most men would put that fucker's head through the wall. There would be a brawl. You ruined my shot. This woman had the emotional control, the emotional maturity. We'll watch it one more time. It might be totally fake, but this is what I observed. Oh, Jesus. Look at her. She doesn't even look at her. You know why? Because she knows she's superior. She knows, and that's why this girl did this to her. This girl is a 10 from coast to coast. She is the most beautiful girl in her high school and all that shit. One problem, she didn't go to high school with this girl, because this girl is better. And she knows it. She knows that this woman is far more beautiful. And she resorted to some mean-ass chick stuff. Look at this. Like a bitch. Like a queen. That's my queen. I would bend the knee. That is. Anyway, that was fun. All right, an all-female edition of 3 videos. Why are you girls so mean to each other? You girls are mean. I'm not going to get into it. Like, we already touched, we tapped on the third rail when I said, look, black people don't tip. I'm not a racist. That doesn't make me racist. It's an observation. Am I wrong? Prove it to me. Prove that my life experience was wrong. All right? Also, life experience. Hot girls are so mean to each other. So mean to each other. Those are just life experiences. I don't know how my life experience can be wrong. It might not be what you want for my life experience to have been, but it's true. So anyway, Girls are mean. All right, let's do. You know you want to know what the meanest thing? I've said this for the dumbest and most dangerous thing in American society. You want to know what the dumbest and most dangerous thing in American society? It's not a crocodile in the Everglades. It's not a bear that, gets into some town in Wisconsin. No. The most dangerous thing in modern American culture is an 18-year-old boy. That's it. Most dangerous thing. An 18-year-old boy, man, in some cases, that's a brick shit house. You ever seen college freshmen on football teams? That's a dangerous load that you got to handle. And they've got a 10-cent head. They think they're mature. They are dangerous. You can count on an 18-year-old boy in America to make the absolute worst decision at all times. All right? So that's the most dangerous thing in America, an 18-year-old boy. You know what the meanest thing in America is? A 13-year-old girl. That's the meanest thing in America is a 13-year-old girl. It's just true. Again, these are my life experiences. You know what else is a great life experience of mine? Baseball. And that's why we end every show with Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark, a little segment I like to call CBFATOBP. Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. We like to take a moment and just celebrate America's pastime these summer months. Don't know that we'll continue to do this once football season starts. We might end each and every show with something football related. Who knows? We'll see. We'll pass that. We'll figure that out when we get there. But Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. Okay, so here we are. Now, again, this is just, it's not an intentional theme. I swear to God, it's not an intentional theme. I love women. I was raised by a single mother. She could do whatever. She could do everything. Literally, I grew up going, female brain surgeons? Of course, my mom could do that. Just give her the right books. She'll figure it out. Female fighter pilot? Yeah, of course. My mom could do that. If you just trained my mom, she could totally do it, right? So that's how I grew up. I grew up with, this totally. So any coincidence that a lot of today's show seems to be a little bit women are mean. It's just a coincidence, I promise you. It's not a new worldview or anything like that. But how about this? Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. This went viral last night. This doesn't concern a game or a play or a player or giving the ball to somebody or a bad umpire call. No, doesn't concern any of that. Just concerns two random people who are taking in this game. We don't know anything. All we know is what we're seeing, and it is awkward. Apparently, this is a young couple. This is I don't know, maybe 18, 19, maybe 16, maybe 17. I don't know. It's a young couple at a baseball game, and oh my God, is she mad at him? And I don't know what's going on. He knows she's mad. She's letting it be known that she's mad. Let's watch this. Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. Well, I guess that's not exactly true for these two kids. Let's watch this. She is mean mugging him. And I think that every guy who has been, been in a relationship, every guy has been here. Every guy has been like, oh yeah, that's a look. They give you that look sometimes. And you just got to sit there and take it. You just got to build your force field. Don't react. All right, look at her. All right, here we go. Let's watch. From last night, I guess this is a Padres game. This has got to be the boyfriend. See, he's just staring dead ahead with his hand. He knows something. He's watching the baseball game. He knows he's fully aware she's staring daggers at him. Here she is. She's just staring at him. All right, let's watch this. I wish it was longer, but it's just wonderful. It is so real. We've all been here. First of all, look at that. She is mad. He did something. He got a text from someone right in the middle of the game. They're having a wonderful time. Everything is great. He's blown his paycheck from the Home Depot for the last 2 weeks on her on this night. And I don't know, some chick from last summer texted him. And then she was like, who's that? And he's like, nobody. Because he's dumb. Because he's stupid. He didn't know to come up with an excuse. It's my mom. He could have just played it off. But no, he probably said, who's that? He probably said, nobody. And then that turned into, let me see it. And then, oh God. And now we've got this. Now this is, and it's only the third inning. Yeah, we got to sit here for another 6. Anyway, let's watch again. Here we go. Look, she's putting her tongue in her mouth. She's like, how long until you acknowledge that I want you to react in a way that you have no idea how I want you to react? That's what's going on. He doesn't know what she wants right now. He knows she's mad. He knows she just wants to be mad, but he doesn't want to react in a way that's going to set her off because they're in public. And just look at how happy this couple is behind them. They're happy. Why can't they be like that? Oh, she looks mad. Oh, and he's in trouble. Although, can I be honest? I know this look. This isn't deeply contemplating the shame or the guilt. This is in no way acknowledging her being upset with him and him showing some sort of contrition for that. No, he's looking at his phone. He's on his phone right here. My kid does this too. I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? Like, he looks like there's something wrong. I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? And he's like, oh, nothing. I'm just on my phone. And I'm like, fuck. All right, there we go. You can't beat fun at the old ballpark unless, of course, you're those two. That was not fun. They were fine by the 7th inning. They were fine by the 7th inning. What? Did she go? Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. I guess it depends on the girlfriend, because teenage girls can be kind of crazy. And it doesn't mean that because she was crazy at 15, she's going to be crazy at 25. Doesn't mean that. It's just more likely. All right. That's it. We're done. We got nothing else. That's the show. I'm done talking. That was a good show. I like today's show. Was it worthy of a tip? That'll be up to you guys. Let's see who gets to join on Monday, our July heroes. Maddie and Peter and Barney, they have multiple times tipped this show this month. It's already the 10th day of the... Have you tithed? Have you tithed? Drop a little something, please. The show desperately needs your attention. We're like $250 in the red. And we've been that way now for 2 months. So, fuck. Drop a little something. You can do that by using the Venmo or the Cash App. And we will be back here on Monday with more. It's going to be a weekend. We're going to go disappear now for the weekend. So I apologize, but I will be back Monday and we'll do more. I love you guys. Be cool to each other. And remember, stay neighborly.